What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Season Gaming Bitcast, episode 311. We are back as our full trio here right now, and Mr. Hardcore Hogue is back with us to talk about all things gaming. And Travis, for now, his camera is on. We'll see how long that lasts. But for anyway, we are going to be talking today about a few things. We've got Vessel of Hatred to talk through a little more now that we've got more time with it, and Hogue obviously can finally share his thoughts. We've got Metaphor ReFantazio, another Game of the Year contender that has popped up and is excellent so far. We'll be talking about that. Obviously, these guys may not be as interested, but I want to talk about the huge news out of Xbox relating to Halo Studios changing over from 343, the engine move, and everything else that going on over there. And I'll have some details on that. I'm going to talk about Xbox finally moving forward with their kind of mobile and streaming plan that they've been talking about for some time, and the ruling on Google. The Android store, excuse me. And of course, we'll touch on some horror games as well, seeing that we're coming up to that time of the year. So, Travis, stop touching buttons. Other than that, leave it alone. You're on the screen. We can hear you. That's good enough. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. The Elgato Corporation continues to dangle me over a precipice of disaster, as you can see by the insane flickering happening on screen. I want you guys to know, I'm very good with tech. Like, really good. I spend a lot of time thinking about it, a lot of time working on this setup, and the Elgato Corporation, they're like the Roadrunner, and I'm Wile E. Coyote in this situation. And all the contraptions I build, I just cannot get a performance show. So that's what I'm dealing with my life. And sound off in the chat with what are you going through in your life that's causing you grief? Let's share. Let's start with a share, everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know.
Am I laggy? Is somebody saying I'm laggy? Is that out?
Not to me. Laggy?
Okay. No, not to me. At least not in the real-time studio
guys.
here. But.
Not to me. You're not laggy. All right. Well, yeah. Anyway, sorry if my camera dies or whatever. I'm probably going to reset my computer. But yeah, needless to say, we having the tech issues up in this joint.
But he will hang out as long as he can, of course. And back from his vacation and some good times all around is Mr. Hardcore Hogue. Who? Did you lose your hardcore character?
I lost a hardcore character, not my hardcore character that I was working on. I started a Spiritborn to celebrate the new expansion. I am an idiot and didn't realize that they had changed the entire progression system of Diablo, so I could barely recognize anything when I was out there. And so I was trying to assess how to move forward with my character. So I, like a smart guy, started a new area with a new progression system on a new character with a new skill tree, and didn't make it super far. So that first Spiritborn got to level 18 and is no longer with us.
Nice.
May his spirit rest in peace.
Don't they give you like there's some sort of token to remember your character by?
So in the collections menu of Diablo 4, if you make it to level 10, you will have your last, I think, 8 hardcore deaths memorialized on that screen. And it'll tell you like what they were killed by, what they were armed with at the time, how long you played as them. So that first Spiritborn was like 3 hours and change. And like I said, I got to that point. I got into a room that killed me. I was like, I don't understand. And I did not play another hardcore character after that to explore the Vessel of Hatred, at least. So my current Spiritborn is 40 something. I have a lot of thoughts about Vessel of Hatred. Some of which I am sure you or the chat will adamantly disagree with, but I do want to talk about it because I've had a good time with the expansion, but I have some concerns.
Okay. It does not surprise me that you're going to have some controversial thoughts, Hogue. It wouldn't be Bitcast without it.
That's what I hear. That's what Twitter tells me when it's not telling me to shut the F up. So,
yeah, hey. I mean, they'll do that too. Yeah, they do that too.
I mean, that's some good advice, though. That's just good life advice.
I just really like the argumentation there. It's just really effective. It's a good argument.
Arguing on the internet is generally productive. I've always said that. Have you beaten the campaign yet?
No, I have not beaten the campaign. I have not accessed Torment.
Okay.
So yeah, I have some thoughts, particularly
If you want to access Torment, I highly recommend buying some Elgato equipment. They will get you right there. They'll speed you ahead to Torment.
It's like buying the XP boost in a Ubisoft game.
Yeah.
Alex
Oh,
is
man.
already in the chat mocking me. I get on the show. I'm here for 5 minutes. I'm already getting
He's already coming at
Twitter-type
you.
commentary. Yes.
Welcome back, Hogue. Good to have you.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. I'm interested to hear what you have to say about it because I also gave Vessel of Hatred, I think, on the lower end of the Metacritic scoring. Like, it's still pretty good, but I think the expansion had a lot of room to improve. So I'm with you.
Okay.
I feel it.
We'll get there.
Let's talk about it.
Also, Hogue saying that he didn't realize that the whole progression and difficulty thing changed. Only read to me, Travis, like he didn't read our reviews. So
I know.
I don't.
Yeah,
I
we
don't
read
read
our
reviews
reviews
of things that I've already bought.
Yeah, I don't think he read reviews, and I definitely don't think he read the guides that I've been putting out, including one of them, which talks about the 10 biggest changes from Vessel of Hatred and talks about the leveling system extensively. So
No, it was
I feel like he's
surprised
just
me.
been eschewing my content altogether. How dare he?
I knew I was getting a new class, a new area, and that's basically what I knew. And they took Diablo 4 as it existed before away, which I think is is something we can converse about.
That's how live services work. It's true.
Before we get there, though, I want to catch up on a couple things. We got super chats, of course, to kick us off, but we got to catch up on Tides picks too, because last week we didn't do it without Hogue here, and so we have 2 weeks of Tides picks, and we will begin with, of course, the Diablo themed ones first, which were the ones from last week.
Oh God!
So
let's make me look like a demon. Please don't. Oh, actually, that's better than I thought.
You look like a cool demon, though.
Yeah, no, I look cooler than I ever have.
I think I'm one of the villains in Diablo 4 here.
I think we're all villains. Yeah,
I don't know what's
just
going
because
on.
a man has horns, you have to be a villain. Prejudice.
No, as Metaphor talks about, just because you have horns does not make you a villain.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
right.
as Diablo talks about, everyone is a bad guy, especially people with horns. So
I'm pretty sure that those horns are just this picture's version of Ains's headphones.
I think you're right.
Probably.
Also, I like that his horns are turned in the way that they make him look like Mickey ears. He's got a little.
It's a heart. I'm making a heart. Yes.
That's cute. That's
also,
cute.
why does that look suspiciously like me in about 5 years? Yeah, that's
5 years,
pretty accurate.
Dude. I hate to
shut up. Shut up. Shut
up. Hogue looking good. Love it. You got some lava coming out of your chest piece. You might want to get that checked.
It's an exotic.
It's an exotic. Good to hear. I think you mean a unique. All right. This is Diablo. And I look
evil.
Still ginger. Still ginger.
Yeah.
Honestly,
also incredibly pale.
I'm not gonna lie though, if I could look like that by being like a Satanist, I would do it.
Also, why do you have Mike Tyson's tattoo?
That's just my thing, dude. Or
yeah. You look like you're right out of Masquerade or something.
Yeah, it does kind of look. I look very vampiric. If you show this picture to my wife, she'll be stoked. She'll be like, "Yeah, that's what I see when I look at you." Gross.
Wow. Yeah. So we move from Diablo, of course, or straight into Metaphor this week, and I'm back with the headphones. Good Lord.
Just how I look, man.
Dude, Hogue, what's wrong with you, bro? What happened? Why do you always get the swag here?
That's also, how I look.
It twinked me up pretty hard in this one. I'm pretty twink. It's pretty good.
I mean, yeah, AI is pretty smart.
Here's a good question. As somebody who has never known you to have hair, what did your hair look like when you had it? Did it look like
exactly like that? I gave her a picture. Yeah, that's it. It was
I'm
blue
serious,
and
though.
spiked.
I would not be surprised if you had like a mohawk when you had hair.
No, I had literally what you see now, just a little more of it.
No way.
Yeah, I did. I told
you
this.
as a 14-year-old.
As a kid, as a kid, I actually had long, kind of wavy hair. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I want to see. I want to see long, wavy hair Ains. That sounds fun.
Those pictures will never be shared.
You looked like this. I was thinking about you in high school, totally bald. I'm like, dude, he is.
Yeah. By the time I got to high school, I was shaving my head, like not clean,
really?
but like with clippers. Yeah.
What the? That's crazy.
I look better with no hair, man.
All right. Well, I
I
can't
do.
really.
My hair sucked.
I can't
I don't
really
like it.
criticize. I wear a suit every day, so
But yeah, Hoag's always got the Hoag definitely looks, and he's got the broad shoulders there too. You notice that?
you know.
Like he's
And
straight out.
they
Yeah.
clearly gave him like the glasses guy smile. So he's like 2 seconds away from pushing up his glasses and them shinging across the side. I've always
That's
thought
what happens when I do that.
I want to do a Kickstarter for like a pair of reading eyeglasses that have like a button in the middle here, so that when you push them up, it like shings across, like it makes the light go through the glasses. I think those would sell 1 million copies.
There you go. All right, Todd. Thank you as always. Where are we here? Let's get back to it. So, all right. Well, let's jump into. Oh wait, we got our super chats. What am I doing? Excuse me.
Got a bunch of super chats.
Yeah, I apologize. Excuse me. Googleman, kicking us off. Let's get it.
Googleman81 offers 10 euros and writes, looking at the VR market, not sure where to place the HTC Vice Focus, apart from Meta owning all the software IPs, of course, chocolate potato chips. Yeah, the HTC I would put in the same bucket of PlayStation, which is cool tech. Not really sure what their market is. I think the PC market is especially a jungle when it comes to VR, because you can buy one of 7 different headsets and they all work on the same games. It's very open. The HTC used to be really competitive. Now I would say they're less so, but just in general, PC's less competitive now that you can play wireless on a Meta Quest and that sort of thing. So it's interesting. I don't think I'm going to get this one because my PC VR setup is pretty strong still, but it's good to have more options.
Yeah. Yeah. And chocolate potato chips are amazing, by the way.
I would not take, though. I don't
what?
know.
Have you ever had them?
I have not.
They're really good.
I'm also not really like a savory, sweet guy.
Yeah, it's sweet and salty.
Yeah,
Salt
I don't
really makes chocolate jump. I agree with that.
I don't like it when they put salt on my cookies. It upsets me.
There's salt in like every cookie.
I know, but you know when they put
he means like sprinkled,
salt
I think,
on the top, and I'm just like,
I don't. No.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Travis. I don't like it either.
They do. This is so common. Like all the fancy cookie places put like a little bit of sea salt on top.
I am not eating fancy cookies, Travis.
You're probably more of a Nabisco boy, aren't you?
I think I'm more of the ones that are in the Meyer like rack that you pull out that have the little plastic cases.
Huh? First of all, I've never
like Oreos type thing, like when you slide the plastic. Is that what you're talking about?
Like when you go to the bakery section of your local grocery store and they have the little clear plastic cases of cookies they made maybe within the last 5 days.
Yes. Okay.
I'm sorry. I've never heard anybody when I asked them about their cookie preferences say I'm in the mire. That was just a bizarre way to open the sentence. But I love it. No, I get it. Yeah, those are.
I know what you mean.
Those are the basic cookies. Yeah,
I am basic. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm in California. We are a little extra, especially when it comes to food. And yeah, they love the salt on top.
I don't like it.
Yeah,
salt on top. I mean, Googleman, thank you as always for kicking us off. Shout out to the legend herself, Vintage Willow, for gifting 5 SG memberships. Thank you as always, Vintage. And even more of a legend, she follows it up with, she has candy corn ready for Foodcast. There you go. I feel ashamed because I don't have candy corn ready. I told the story last week. I was trying to order a new brand of candy corn. It's sold out because why wouldn't candy corn sell out? It's the best. But I will have some for next week's show or the show after that. Before the end of the month, I will have some candy corn on the show for sure.
Vintage Willow, I hope you were watching Bitcast this morning from atop your porcelain throne because you're going to need it.
No. Vintage, thank you as always. Tao with a member comment.
Tao Zochi, member for 23 months, writes, Sup chat Bitcasters. If you like Skies of Arcadia, check out Sky Ocean's cool indie. Also, don't play on hard, got smoked, first battle.
Don't play on hard, got smoked for. Does he mean in Sky Oceans?
In Sky Oceans.
Oh, okay. Indie. Skies of Arcadia. That's a throwback. Shout out to Dreamcast, right?
Yeah. GameCube. I think they had a PlayStation version as well.
Am I thinking of the right game?
Yes,
If
you
I
are.
played,
Okay.
if I played that game, it would have been on GameCube, I think.
I think I still have it. Maybe I got to look. But very cool. Very cool, Tal. Thank you. Big Man Mo's back. Good to see you, Mo.
Big Mad Mo has been a member for 20 months and writes, shout out to panel. How have y'all been? Ains, blink once for yes and twice for no. Does new Halo feel like Halo? Metaphor is fire. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah. I wish I could say I have played anything to do with this new Halo project, but Mo, we will be talking about it. I think as you well know, having followed me and the information for a while now, it was nice to see all this finally come to light and be announced formally. So we'll get to it for sure.
You were pretty hard on when this first was like rumored, you were pretty hard on that's never going to happen team.
The engine transformation, I was. Yeah. I'll own that for sure. And then once the info kind of spread a little more behind the scenes and more evidence came up, I was like, okay, looks like they're doing it. So
yeah, I'm guessing it's because of I'm sure we're going to get into this.
We're going to talk about it. Yeah. The thing that really annoys me, which we'll talk about though, is the fact that once me and a few others really did confirm all this stuff, some of the people who are now talking about it and excited came out and said it was all false news and wasn't true. And, the people who claim to be insiders, and it's just like, okay, we'll see. I think you remember me saying that, Travis. I was like, we'll see.
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Anyway, Commander Shepard's here.
Commander Shepard offers €2 and writes Travis. Period.
Travis. I think it's Travis.
I am very used to reading that. My coworkers write that sentence, just Travis with a period, anytime I make a joke that is out of line in the Slack channel or Discord or whatever. Travis. And then it'll just be like my comment and then like 8 people who just typed Travis underneath it. So very used to that chastising Travis, and I accept it. You're welcome.
I think his was more like as it's Commander Shepard. His was more of a Citadel. Yeah. Travis. Yeah.
Shepard.
Random name.
Random_name offers $4.99 US and writes, Metaphor ReFantazio is definitely going to be my game of the year. You can say definitely, but it's still October. You don't know, man. The world can change.
The world can change.
I mean,
there might not be a game of the year, I guess, from Travis.
Or there might be a better game in November. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see.
Maybe the game I reviewed this weekend is better. You don't know.
I do know. It is not the case.
How do you know? You know what I'm reviewing?
Yeah, we talked about it. Anyway, thank you, Random Name, as always. And Debbie W.
Debbie W. offers $5 and writes, Rick, this is what it's like to be a WoW player when an expansion launches. It's why I rage quit my Paladins when Cataclysm launched.
I will admit, as people who watch the Bitcast know, I have not been this invested in a continuing service game before. And so I am not as used to the trials and tribulations, the waves of positive and negative that happens with these games. And one thing that I definitely want to talk about with Vessel of Hatred is they're moving significant parts of their economy in the way that the game progresses in a way that, at least as someone that's played basically every season and every change, feels a little bit like they don't fully know where they want to go with how these things feel in real time. And some of that is, as we talked about with the Loot Reborn season, it's clear that players got much more powerful than they were right before that season. And the game started feeling different. And some of that is wheeling some of that back. So we'll talk about that with respect to Vessel of Hatred. I'm not sure about some of the changes. I'm sure that's normal. But it does feel like the game that I've played for 200 however many hours is gone and exchanged for something different.
So let's go ahead and segue, because that was the last super chat we had this morning. So
okay.
I'm now at a point where obviously reviewed it, Travis and I did, but I've played pretty much nothing except for a few hours of Metaphor just before the show here. And so I'm all the way back to Torment 2 on Vessel of Hatred with my new Spiritborn. I'm Paragon 104, 3, something like that. So I've spent a lot of time this week, and I definitely have some other thoughts I want to get to. But Hogue, you weren't here last week. Travis and I talked a lot about the specific features of Vessel of Hatred, what's in the, not just the expansion, but the core game changes, everything this season, right? So as you just kind of alluded to, you've played this game a lot. You really enjoy it. You're not what I would call, well, maybe, I don't know. You're not what I would typically think of as like a hardcore min-max Diablo player who's putting thousands of hours, but you have put a lot of time into the game and you really enjoy it. So as we get into Vessel of Hatred, you've got the continuation of the story. So let's start there if you don't mind. And then we'll talk about the actual core game changes to like progression and other things. So how are you enjoying the actual continuation of the story?
Well, I mean, I think they did a little bit of sleight of hand with what Narelle was planning to do. We're not going to talk about specifics here, but certainly what is indicated as your relationship to this particular character, what they are doing at the end of the main campaign, is slightly changed in Vessel of Hatred, so that they can tell this particular story. But the effect, in my opinion, and I haven't finished this, is that it feels a little bit like wheel spinning. It feels like this is going to finish up where we thought we finished up last time. And I don't know that to be the case. They might surprise me. I'm only about, I would guess, halfway through the campaign content at this point, just based on how much of the new area I have explored. But that's not super strong in terms of pushing forward on the campaign or the story. But I do love what I consider their ambient storytelling in Diablo 4. I love the little dialogues you can get from the villages and the towns. And I love having a new area to explore. I love the new area. And so I really view that as kind of part and parcel with the campaign, because I was not getting this expansion or excited for this expansion to just go chase down a soul stone. It really was getting a new area to explore. So yeah, I'm of two minds on that. There's nothing compelling so far in chasing down these leads in the campaign, but I wasn't really expecting there to be.
I think Travis and I, go ahead, Travis, but I think Travis and I said pretty similar things in our reviews.
The campaign's the weakest part. Specifically, the story is the weakest part of the expansion. I'll disagree on the Narelle motivations thing. I think that was pretty clear and kind of what I was expecting we'd start off on. I just thought we'd move a lot quicker. And I think Vessel of Hatred is called Vessel of Hatred because you really are dealing with the vessel and not hatred. And it's, I don't know. It just surprised me.
Just call it hatred.
Yeah.
You know you want to.
That'll be the next one, I guess.
Shot glass of hatred.
I'm pretty sure it'll be Lord of Hatred. But hey,
it's a good one.
Wasn't Lord of Destruction one of the expansion names back in the day?
Diablo 2. Yeah.
So Lord of, I don't know if it'll be Lord of Hatred because it sounds like they're now setting up for an even bigger kind of
no
war.
Spoilers.
But if there's a bigger thing, I haven't seen it yet.
Well, there is a this is not spoilers because it's literally in the game. You can see it on an item, but there is a unique or a mythic unique that specifically has a attribute on it that people saw when they added this update in the test realm that says gives you a bonus when fighting angels and demons. And everyone was like, what do you mean angels?
Well, I mean, that's what they did in 3.
Yeah, exactly. So they're kind of alluding to where things are heading already. So yeah, I think I agree on the campaign. I said that in my review too. It kind of felt like going point to point, fighting nondescript bosses. There's only really 2 kind of named bosses that really make any kind of sense. Not sense, but you know what I mean, that kind of have any meaning to them. And I like the ending cutscene once you finish the expansion. I think it's really strong as Blizzard.
The cutscenes rock. They did
another
great on these
cliffhanger, bro.
Cutscenes.
Another cliffhanger. These guys.
But yeah, it does end on okay, wait for the next one. Which, when you wait a year for an expansion, you kind of hope you get a little more out of it. But let's talk about the power curve then, because there's a couple comments around it. I know, Hogue, you're kind of touching on it, but yeah, the entire curve of this is different now because along with the expansion and obviously a new class, new region, you have the new difficulty levels, which are 4 standard difficulty levels. And then once you get to 60, which is the new level cap, you can run level 20 of the pit and unlock the torment levels, more similar to Diablo 3. But what we found in the review period was that a lot of people were struggling, that the difficulty seemed a little higher. early on in the game. And what I found personally after doing it twice now is that the curve of kind of the power curve comes a little later now. Like you don't really feel this build come together with the new aspects and just the difficulty of the game really kind of strengthen until you get to about the late 40s, 50s. And then of course, once you hit Torment and you start to really build into the aspects, then it really ramps up. But at the early part of the game definitely feels different now, I would say. So Hogue, sorry, I've talked enough. Let's hear your thoughts.
No, I agree completely, actually. I think that there are points in time based on what they have done with the economy that I really like, right? I do think that a tighter economy, having more resources that are more important and difficulty buying everything that you want is good for a game of this type, but it's much tighter than it was. And there are points in time in particular where like the items are at level 350, where you're between power curves and you don't get the resources you need to make the jump until you start sharding the things that are higher power than what you have currently. And there's like a little trip there that I don't love, and you get stuck at about like between 350 and 400 for a little while in a place where you don't feel like you can go up to like expert, and you don't feel like you can stay at hard because you're not getting enough stuff to make that leap. And so I think there's some tweaks to be made there, but more importantly for what they've done here that I don't like is they've introduced a certain amount of ambiguity as to where you should be and what they want your experience to be, right? So in the previous version of Diablo 4, you had World Tier 2, and then you would get to level 50, you'd do their capstone dungeon, you'd have the right to go up to World Tier 3, you'd have fancier items that you could get there, and then you would feel a little bit underpowered for a moment as you gained up the levels necessary to play in World Tier 3. And then the same thing would happen with World Tier 4. So you had this kind of strict mechanical progression, and you had a notion of what the developers wanted you to feel like as you progressed through these power curves and this moment in time in your playthrough of the game. Now, you've just got kind of standard difficulties for, I guess, what is the pre-end game now, without a world tier at all that just has normal. I think it's normal. It might be standard, something else. Hard, expert, and I can't remember.
Penitent.
Penitent, yes, sorry. I have to start getting into the religious terminology.
A penitent man. Yeah.
Yep. He shall pass directly into torment. And so, in my opinion, I know I've said this on Bitcast before, I don't want to be in charge of figuring out what the game is supposed to feel like. I want the developers to figure out where the fun is. That's what I'm paying them for. I don't want to have to figure out where it is that I'm supposed to be. So my playthrough of Diablo 4 has been bouncing between hard and expert, like for a whole series of different things that I have done, trying to decide what is the appropriate level of difficulty for me. And because the items, they don't know what items I have, it's unclear where I'm supposed to be for any given activity. Adding on to this is the fact that there used to be levels for the monsters, and there used to be clear kind of plus situations for the monster levels where you go and you attack a stronghold, and you know that that's always +2 to where you're at. And so you know that that is supposed to feel a little bit different than just wandering out in the world. I think that still exists behind the scenes. There appears to be things that you can do that feel a little bit different, but because they've taken away the monster levels, all they've added is ambiguity as to whether or not this is supposed to be something that feels significantly harder, or that my build has fallen apart or has fallen behind the curve. And with that added ambiguity, I'm not enjoying it as much as I was before they took that away. That's just not what I liked about what I was playing. And so I don't understand that particular change, the monster levels being removed. I don't particularly understand what they've done with the tiers, but I think a lot of this can be improved with just transparency, with knowledge of what it is that you want me to be feeling at these particular moments in time. If you tell me that this activity is essentially a plus kind of stronghold type experience, then I don't have to worry that it's now taking me 5 times as long to kill this thing in this area, because it's not my build that's falling apart. I'm just trying to do something that they intend to be a plus experience. And so I don't love that change. I don't understand why it was made exactly. I should probably read some more on the blog posts and what have you. Certainly Diablo 4 as it exists now feels more like a standard kind of approach to difficulty levels. We're going to bump your gold. We're going to bump your experience a little bit. We're not going to give you sacreds or ancestrals or whatever at these levels. We're just going to bump those numbers. But then it becomes a math problem, right? Then the difficulty setting is, okay, can I do this thing at this lower difficulty level 75% faster and get more money doing that thing than going through and stretching myself and trying to be at the highest difficulty that I can be at, because that's where completely different kinds of things drop. So this is a different philosophy to me as to difficulty and tiering in Diablo 4. And honestly, I like the old philosophy.
So, you're right. It is different. Did you play a lot of Halo? Halo, it's on the mind. Sorry.
Hey.
Did you play a lot of Diablo 3?
I did, but it feels like a long time ago, and certainly not remotely as much as I played of Diablo 4.
Okay. So what happened for those who don't know, in Diablo 3, they started very similar to how they started Diablo 4. There were 4 levels at launch. And then basically what happened over years is they broadened that out. They gave the freedom back to the player to select what level you want to play on, very similar to what Diablo 4 is now. And so you saw the similar thing here, because I kind of liked what Diablo 4 was at launch at first, in the sense of you had your world tier 1 and 2, which you could select between. Then once you got to 3, it opened up the end game activities, and then you kind of reset that again at 4. And I don't want to speak for other people, but what people were complaining about, and Travis, you can speak to this too, of course, is that when you went from 2 to 3 and then 3 to 4, it felt like you were resetting all your loot over again. So it's like you hit this cap, and now, oh shit, I've got to hunt for all this stuff, because you go from normals to sacreds to ancestrals, right?
Yes.
So basically what Blizzard has said in their creator blogs and what they've talked about this is they went back to more of a system like Diablo 3, which is you have your pre-end game and your end game levels, and then you let the player decide how much they want to be aggressive. To your point, Hogue, the player decides how hard you want it to be, what kind of benefits you get, and what's your best course of action.
Well, with no transparency as to what the difficulty's doing now. You just go in and you feel it being harder. And it's like, okay.
They give it to you on the page.
On what page?
When you select the difficulty.
When you're on the difficulty.
They do not. The difficulty selection is for people that have a few legendaries, or for people that have tempered legendaries, and here's the bonus to your experience, and here's the bonus to your gold. They don't say what is happening to the monsters at all. This is all pre-torment, Travis.
Yeah, pre-torment. He's right.
Oh, interesting.
He's right. It just says it gives you more XP and gold. He's right.
My impression of the difficulty changes is that they wanted to remove it from impacting people's player experience, because part of the problem with 1 is that if you're not a Diablo diehard, you're probably not messing with the world tier stuff at all. And then it's unclear where you're supposed to be. And at some point you feel like way more powerful than the monsters. In this one, you can play it on normal and still get a kind of level experience throughout without messing with the world tier difficulty. So like the way I played it, and the way I recommend other people play it when they're not at their first end game character, is to just play the game on normal until you get to max level, and then immediately switch to torment when the game like tells you to do that, right? Because there's a part where once you beat the campaign, it's like, hey, now you're a max level character, go do this activity and unlock torment 1, and then you do, and then you switch to torment. So I think the world tier changing, especially pre-torment 1, is really just for people who like want to min-max their time or up the difficulty to make it a little less like you're just steamrolling the game during the campaign or what have you. But they're trying to make it, my impression anyway, is that they're trying to make it less about like players having to manually adjust the game to make it feel good.
And I think that's what they landed at. I literally have to bounce between hard and expert to figure out what it is that's going to feel good in any given experience, with it changing on the fly.
Have you tried just playing on normal?
I have not played it on normal, I don't think, for 1 minute. But hard gets too easy, so I don't think normal is the solution.
Yeah, I mean, when you're burning through to max level, I mean, I had a pretty good time playing just on normal. I don't know. I played on
I-
normal because I saw a bunch of people in the Discord saying that hard was like legit hard in this one, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna get to end game, I'm just gonna beat the campaign.
And I get people that do that, but that's not me.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's exactly what it is. I think it's looked at now as the early play from level 1 to 60 because they went from 100 to 60, right? I think the way they look at it is Diablo at its core, for those people who are going to play more than just your campaign, right, is an end game, meaning you get to torment or you get to end game, and that's where the game really kind of begins. And I think they're looking at it as 1 to 60 is just your standard progression. You blow through it at whatever difficulty you want. It's okay if you play on normal and, to Travis's point, just crush everything. I'm not saying that's fun for you, Hogue. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that's I think their thought process here. And then once you get to torment, that's where the game kind of starts. And then your entire goal from that point is you build stronger and stronger so you can get to torment 2, then you build stronger and stronger and get to torment 2, 3, etc. to 4.
I agree. I think that's the menus. That's what the menus suggest, is that the 1 to 60 is not something that we care about so much, and that the real game starts with torment. But to me, that feels like they just took away what I was doing, which was playing through these events and things and getting to Paragon status and getting up to tier 3 and then tier 4 and having these moments in time where I had accomplished something, and then having to fight through some of the increase in difficulty levels to get to the next capstone and the next tier. And now it's like, we don't care about you until you get to torment. It's like, okay, fine. But
it's more that they took away the, like, what I would consider like the monotonous part of making a new character, which is trying to actually get to the part where you're earning Paragon points, and especially the grind to getting max level. But they, like, I guess the trade-off, Hogue, is that the end game feels a lot better. You get there faster. It's very clear when you're done earning skill points and now you're just earning Paragon points, because your level completely changes. You stop leveling your character and start leveling your Paragon, and your Paragon is shared between all of your characters. And so you're gaining progress no matter which character you play on.
I saw that. Why is the Paragon shared across characters? That seems like
to give you a meta progression. Give you meta progression, right? Because there's 250 Paragon level, or 300. Actually, yeah, it's 300. I was thinking the 50 didn't count, or the 60 didn't count, but it's 360 levels, 60 levels on your character, and then after that you're earning toward your entire account level, right? And so you're eventually.
But I'm here to build characters. I don't even know what a meta Paragon point is. And again, I haven't gotten to torment yet, so I'm speaking without knowledge as to what they're doing over there now.
And I think the other thing too is, you asked why they do that. If you play like other ARPGs or loot games like that, that's almost a standard, Hogue.
I have played other ones, but I landed on Diablo 4 because they were doing something different. I don't want all the games to be the same.
Yeah, I would just say Diablo 4 is their hallmark as an ARPG is that they're doing stuff different. I'd say they're pretty by the numbers as the genre goes, but I think a meta progression is good to have in a live service game. It gives you a reason to bounce around. For example, I have 6 characters that are all level 60 in season, right? So I rolled a barbarian, I rolled a druid, I got them all to max level, and so now anything I play on any character, I'm earning progress toward that meta progression. And in a model where your characters get reverted to eternal characters at the end of the season, I think it's important to give you a reason to play more than one character, because you didn't really have a reason to play more than one character any season in previous except for for the lulls, basically.
No, I was doing one character per season.
Yeah, and so now you have a reason to do more than one, and I love that the grind to 60 is pretty like quick. It gets quick, and then you've got your build. And then the reason the end game feels better is now you're not throwing out every item you've ever earned and replacing it with a new set of items every time you up your world tier difficulty. You hit like the max item level, and then it's about just like getting better aspects and affixes, yeah, both of those. And you're kind of making the version of your weapon better and more specific to your build and upping the numbers and that sort of thing. And so I think the trade-off, Hogue, is that it's a little confusing when you're getting to 60, but the 60 it goes by really quickly, and then when you're at 60, the end game feels a lot better because of the changes they made.
Well, I clearly don't play it like you or that others do that Blizzard is responding to on these things, because I feel like I've played it a lot since it came out, and I'm at level 43. Now, I did have one Spiritborn that died, unfortunately, so I could be a little bit higher, but I probably wouldn't be rocking Paragons all over the place, even if I had just played the one character. So to me, and this is live services, I get that. I'm not going to tell Blizzard to do anything different than what they're doing. I'm just going to say that as it exists right now, I think I like it as a progression system a little bit less than I did before they changed it. And I presume that this wasn't Vessel of Hatred. This was in their main kind of update.
It is.
Diablo 4 is just gone as I knew it before Vessel of Hatred came out. So, hey, that's fine. These things happen. I get that. I can't play Concord anymore. These things are okay. But I can sit here on the conversational podcast where we talk about how we feel about games and say, not sure about that one, guys. And I can add to it, because this sounds very negative, that I love a lot of what they added in Vessel of Hatred. Okay, I love the new area. We talked about that. I love the music in the new area. I think they did some really cool jungle beats, crossed Diablo sound. And I really like that. I really like the mercenary system. And I like that they all get their own little ambient stories, so that it feels like they're in this world. I think the best thing Blizzard has done with their open world sanctuary is give you that ability to kind of have a Witcher experience where you wander into town, you hear what's up with these guys, you maybe get a side quest or two, and have some connection to whatever area that you're exploring at that point in time. That's my favorite part of what they've done with the Diablo 4 world. And I love that. And I still love the kind of Loot Reborn changes, and I love the tightened economy, because what it used to be was that the reason you were overpowered is that you would get whatever items you kind of like the best, and then you would add whatever specific legendary affixes you wanted to them. You would temper them exactly how you wanted. And for the most part, you have to make choices now. You have to decide exactly what you're going to focus on, whether you're going to add a jewel socket, whether you're going to do something else, because you don't have enough of all the resources to do everything. And that's a major improvement. I like that a lot. But I do have an issue with the progression. I don't think it's what I want out of this experience. It might, I hope it doesn't, it might cause me psychologically to drop playing the game as often as I did. And that's a bummer for me. Maybe it's great for everybody else. That's fantastic. I'm not going to take that away from everyone. But I was not expecting that because I wasn't aware of any kind of progression changes going in. And then it's like, oh, they changed everything.
So I'd say a couple things. One, we talk a lot about live service. Diablo 4 is a live service game, no doubt. But again, Blizzard with Diablo has done these types of changes in all their Diablos. This is not just because it's a live service game, right? Diablo 3 had even more substantial changes than 4 so far. I mean, Diablo 3 is a completely different game from what it was early on.
That is a live service game, though, by the way.
Well, yeah, but so is Diablo 2. You're going back 25 years. I mean, you're just expansions. That's what Blizzard does. They continually change it. And what you'll find, at least if history shows, is over time, as Diablo 4 continues to progress, it'll get more and more aligned to the hardcore ARPG players. That's what they did with 2. That's what they did with 3. And that's probably because after 2 years, 3 years, 5 years on the market, those are the people still playing the game. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's what they've done. The other thing, which is kind of funny.
Also, with any live service game that has RPG elements, you deal with power creep. You deal with the systems getting more complicated. And so naturally, even your casual players like your Hogues become more hardcore. Like even if, Hogue here doesn't describe himself as a hardcore ARPG player, the fact that he's embedded in the game and has been playing for as long as he is, he's now, he has literally a hardcore character that I think is what level?
Hardcore Hogue.
64.
Yeah. 64. Woo! All right. So look at that. Right. So I think they can.
Although I guess they're 60 now. I think they wiped that down. So I guess it's 60 now.
Be 60.
60 plus your Paragon points.
Yes, I have 85 as my starting Paragon points for that guy. I have not popped into his world.
Yeah, as soon as you hit 60, you just have 84 Paragon points to spend, which is pretty cool.
Sounds like a bear to start.
Yeah, that's not true, by the way. But you don't get 80. No, it's not.
He's got 84, like the blue over your character.
Yeah, the little blue number
but
is
that's
84.
because he was past 60. It's not because he hit 60. It's because it calculates the XP he earned post 60.
Yeah, when he hits level 60 with his current character, that'll be shared. So he'll have
I'll have more on the non-hardcore side. So my hardcore guy has 60 something, and the rest of my crew shows like 127, something like that.
There you go.
So as soon as you hit 60, you'll have 127 points to spend on your current character.
That doesn't sound fun, but I presume that only happens once.
It happens once. Well, actually, no, it happens with every character you get, and it is fun. I mean, who doesn't want to spend 100 points on Paragon board? That's like the most exciting part of your. What? Why don't you want that?
I'd spend 100 over time, one at a time. I don't want to sit there on the Paragon board and figure out how to spend 100 points.
How long does it take you to spend a Paragon point? Follow-up question.
Well, if I'm trying to plan out what I want to do with them, yes, you can just hit the button for any random Paragon point you want to spend.
I mean, it's pretty. I feel like everybody does the same thing, right? You bum rush the rune, you bum rush the legendary perk on each board, and then you kind of expand around it to try to meet the rune requirements, and then you go to the next Paragon board. I mean, I was able to get like my Paragon boards maxed out in the last one like pretty quickly because there was a bug for XP, but that experience of just like sitting down and working on your build, I feel it like is a lot of the reason people play Diablo. So I don't know. Maybe
you might
like
be right, man.
You haven't tried
between you two.
You haven't tried 127 point spend, Hogue. So maybe you'll.
I have not. I've not lived that life.
It's quite an experience to be like, damn, I've got some real spending money here.
And how did they arrive at that number? That's because of the players I had played before we got to this point in time.
Correct.
That's your character level. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, like I had 2 level 100s, so now they are both 60s with 201 Paragon points, and it's the XP you had earned if you got to 100, and then the Paragon at the prior Paragon, right? It's an XP curve that they basically just assign those points to. Yeah, and they did it, to be clear, they did the same thing in Diablo 3.
Yep.
Yeah. In fact, Paragon in Diablo 3 goes to 6,000. So now it's a different system in Diablo 3. It's much more simple. But anyway, so the funny thing about your comments, Hogue, what I was going to mention is, and I mentioned this to you, Travis, during the review period or last week, one of the times, and I said the one thing that concerns me late game is that they flattened the legendary and uniques to 2 now. So there's max item power 750. And that's your normal legendaries and stuff. And you can start getting those in your level 50s. So, Hogue, you'll start seeing those probably by the late 50s. You start seeing level 750 legendaries, which is the highest.
I think I'm at the high 400s right now. So
okay. So then you obviously start seeing way more of those once you hit Torment, right? So you get a lot more uniques. And in fact, to be clear, and Hogue, this may drive you nuts, and I'm sure you don't know this yet. Some people like it, some don't. Once you switch to Torment, only legendaries drop. You no longer see blues or yellows. They instead of getting blues or yellows, it's actually a good change. But instead of blues or yellows, they just give you the materials that you would have gotten for breaking them down,
or the gold, because like that's
the gold.
That's part of the resource management is deciding whether to sell them or.
Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna have a problem with gold.
No, they changed that curve too. But yeah, you only see the legendaries now.
Although 14 million to get the highest level gem is pretty crazy. You have like 150 million and gems. It costs 14 million per.
Yeah. They have new gem too. So yeah, everything's changed. But the thing that I'm starting to see, which kind of annoys me a little bit, is that so you have 750 and then your ancestral drops are 800s, and that's it. There's 750s.
They're all the same number.
Yep. There's 750s and there's 800s. That's it. And so really once you get to the point where you've kind of maxed out your 750s and you've tempered them and you start masterworking and you change your fixes and all that, right? You're looking for the ancestral drops with the stars, right? And you're hoping to get certain uniques, higher rolls, right? Higher percentage rolls on your aspects and stuff. But there's no curve beyond that now. So once you get to Torment 1, you can get all those items. You can get ancestrals and everything. But then as you go to Torment 2, 3, and even 4, there's higher percentages of drops of those types of items. You know what I mean? Like with the stars and higher rolls. But you will never go past item 800. And to me,
the percentages will get bigger.
I just said that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to say that the numbers, I actually love this change because we talked about this, Ains. Like, I hate that every time I go up a difficulty level, they expect me to throw out all the stuff I worked for, especially since my entire build is based around it. So there's like certain stuff I can't swap. It's like I can't get rid of these gauntlets. My entire build is around these gauntlets, right?
You can. So now, that's the fun, is you have to change your build and maneuver through the items that you're getting.
Yeah, what I want to do is improve my build incrementally. And so now I can get, you know, a completely different item, or maybe the same pair of the same type of gauntlets, but they have a better number. You can break those down, get access to that higher number affix, and then apply it to the gauntlets I've been wearing the whole time. And so
that's what we do with legendaries. I understand that. But
that's been there from the beginning, though.
The fun of moving to Sacreds and Ancestrals was that you would have to, if you got a crazy bit of equipment that moved your build to something else, you change your build around that, and you have to work around what it is that's dropping for you. The numbers game that you just described, it's a slightly higher number and I can move it to the equipment I already have, sounds incredibly boring to me. And I haven't played it yet, so I can't speak to that. And I will say, even hearing you guys talk about it last week, I said, just like Loot Reborn, it's good I'm not a game designer, because I can hear all these changes that you're describing, and I can't envision how that feels with all of them working at once in a new experience. So it might be that I like it better than I think, but as you describe it here, Travis, it sounds really boring.
So here's my only concern, right? And everything we described is true. It does become a numbers game. It does become a min-max game. That's what Diablo is. I mean, if you don't, if you're getting to Torment 1, 2, or beyond that, and you're complaining that this is a numbers game, you're playing the wrong game. That's what Diablo is. I mean, it has been since the beginning of time.
Since the beginning of time.
It's the beginning of time, literally. Yeah, since
Diablo. In the beginning, there was Diablo.
There was Diablo. But my point is that they've completely removed from Torment 1 to 4, which, by the way, is a big jump. The Torment jumps are pretty large.
It's insane.
But like, I can get the same item in Torment 1 that I can get in Torment 4. There's no new items. There's no new power levels. I just have a better chance of getting them in Torment 4. And I think that's what annoys me. There's no
super weird.
There's no other than having better odds of getting the same, you know, the higher level items or mythic uniques or the higher rolls in Torment 4. I'm not going to see any like higher level stuff. And I think that I don't know. I think that's a little shallow from an ARPG perspective. I would not be surprised if they modify that in the future.
Well, this is what I was talking about before we got into this conversation more depthfully, is that with Loot Reborn and now with Vessel of Hatred, or Seasons of Hatred Rising, or whatever we want to call this change to the progression system, it does feel a little bit bipolar. It does feel like they're bouncing between like world states, and that's fine. And maybe this is their new direction, and that's okay. But it doesn't feel like terribly strong leadership to me. And all of the faith that I had that this was moving in a direction that I liked is, if not gone, at least significantly harmed, sitting here and saying, well, I don't enjoy that as much. I don't enjoy the ambiguity. I don't understand how you get through creating this system and don't add some of the transparency that you knew was necessary and made this interesting and fun when you first made the game. And so, hey, you say it's been like this forever, that it's just math, but I don't think it has been just math in Diablo 4 before this expansion. I think it was getting a new unique and changing up how you operate and exactly how your build operates. And if Torment 1 has all the items just at a lower percentage and you just get the higher percentage from going to Torment 4, that also doesn't feel like world tier changes to me. That feels like just the difficulty levels in a different thing. So you have two world tiers, you have pre-end game and end game, and you just have kind of math changes that move them around. So I don't like this.
So when you say that it hasn't been like this, how far did you get in Diablo 4 previously into the end game?
Level 100, dalliances with like the stuff that they added vis-a-vis the pit and things like that. But primarily...
Yeah, but how far did you get in the pit? Like, what level did you beat?
I don't know, level 10 or 12.
So I'm not saying this sarcastically, but
yes, I know. I don't count. This is the only place in the world where I'm a casual video gamer. I understand.
Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying. I think these changes that we're talking about are like they're focused on those late end game players, the people.
Right. Well, I'm allowed to say that's not me, and so I don't love that you've made a change that directly impacts my enjoyment of your product.
100%.
So the way I view it is when you get to end game, you sort of know what you want to do with your build, right? And it's not so much of like completely changing it as it is improving it and making it more efficient and that sort of stuff. And so I don't have a problem with there not being any new unique. Sometimes it annoys me that I have this idea for this build, but I'm not, Torment 3 yet, so I can't get the item that I need that brings this whole thing together because it's only available in Torment 3 and yada yada.
And I thought that was a good motivating kind of push.
Well, like,
I need to get my ancestrals. I need to get my guy up to being able to take that capstone down, get to World Tier 4, and that was what I was enjoying about Diablo 4.
Now it's more like, okay, well, I've got the basis of my build, but it is poorly optimized because Torment 1 offers like really crappy like percentages and that sort of thing. And so it's like, all right, well, I've got this ancestral weapon, it's max level, but it's got a lot of work to do. But the thing that I really didn't like about the previous Diablo 4 build is I felt like I could never invest in any of the items that I had because I knew I was going to have to swap it out for the better version down the road. And so masterworking, at Torment 1 is a complete waste of time. Like, just don't do it. Wait until you get to the final tier and then start to actually spend
previously, you mean?
Yeah, previously. And so I ended up like hoarding all of my end game resources and then never spending them because out of fear that I was going to find a better one. Now you get to Torment 1, you see an item that's level 750 or 800, and it's like, okay, I can invest in this. I can level it up. I can put all my most valuable materials in it. And I know I'm not going to have to throw all of this away and waste these resources because I'm just going to find a better, shinier one down the road. Now, if I find a better, shinier one, I can incorporate it into the build and items that I've already invested in. And it makes it a lot more efficient with my time.
That's true.
And yeah, to me, it allows
sounds to me like you can't find a better, shinier one. That's
no,
what
you can't
describe to me.
No. And I think Ains is, I get where he's coming from because there are two minds of this, but if you get to Torment 3 and Torment 4, I was playing on Torment 3 last night with a like pretty low level character. The drops are like way more frequent, and the version of the item that I was using and had already invested in, I was finding like multiple of them by farming this boss, and they were all better in every stat regard that I had. And so it was.
But then how does that make your point? If you can find better, shinier things, then don't you still feel bad about investing in the first version?
Because I can dismantle those and then put their affixes on my current weapon that I've already invested in. So I find like 3 versions of this weapon. They all have better things. All right, well, I dismantled that one and I take that affix and I put it on the current version of the weapon I already have because I don't have to worry about like the power level being different. And so it's all about like what stats and specific perks do I have in my library of Codex of Power that I can put onto the stuff that I currently have.
Well, that's Loot Reborn, right? Like that's
yeah, exactly
developed with that.
Yeah, exactly. And so it keeps the best version of all of the affixes and then lets you put them on your existing gear. So I don't have to throw them out and be like, well, there goes all the, million shards and resources and gold I spent investing in this specific.
You can do that to a degree. You can't do that endlessly, and you can't do that with uniques.
And do it with uniques. It's true, but uniques you also don't invest in, right? You don't level.
Yeah, you can't temper uniques.
You
can masterwork it. You can masterwork them.
That's true.
Uniques are weird.
Uniques do act in a weird way. And then also the Dark Citadel item lets you reset your, is it tempering? Your tempering count? You know that thing like 2,000?
No, it's your it's not your tempering, it's your yes, tempering. I'm sorry, where you can re-roll the affix. Yes.
Yeah. And so it lets you continue to re-roll the affix without like breaking your equipment. And so I think they've made some really smart changes to like, the people that aren't super stoked about the idea of like, all right, even though I'm in the end game, I'm not in the real end game, and until I get the final world tier difficulty, I should just assume that I'm borrowing all of this loner equipment until I find the literal perfect. This is a problem I have with Destiny too, is people love the randomness and the like, oh, well, I want a reason to grind this 80 times. And I'm like,
because it's fun to actually play the game and not just to get to the math spreadsheet at the end of things.
That is the game.
No, it's not.
In ARPGs, that's the game.
No, that's apparently the game that you want to play and enjoy your spreadsheet, Travis. But it's not the game that I bought. It's not the game I've been playing for a year and a half, and it's not the game that I wanted to play.
Well, it is the game you bought.
It
You
is
bought a live service. So
I think they're well, one, you're never going to make everyone happy with this. So Blizzard knows that. They've tried for 20 years. It's never happened yet. The other thing, I think what I would like to see, and I guess what I'm saying, Travis, is I would like it if in Torment 2, 3, and 4 on a progression, I'm not saying you have to completely do it like they did the tier 3 and 4 earlier, right? Where it's like, now I'm in the new world tier and I throw everything out like that. I think that was too much over here. I think what I would like to see is, you know how there's the, on every one of your affixes, there's the percentages that each can be, right? Like it can roll from 10 to 20 or something like that. Yeah, the range. I'd like the range to just move up slightly. Do you know what I mean? So that you're not throwing out your items, but right? you can just slightly increase that. Not where you go from ancient to ancestral to, you know, mythic or whatever, where it's this huge jump, but just being able to additionally do that. I think
they will do that. That was also one of my notes of criticism, because even if you've invested in a legendary, if you have a larger band on a higher difficulty, then it gives you a reason to actually play on those. I still think you have a lot of reason.
They do that in other ARPGs too.
They do, yeah. But I still have a reason to play Torment 3 because it's so much more efficient for the grinding. Like I got 3 copies of a weapon. It had taken me forever to get as soon as I switched to Torment 3. So I think they do a pretty good job. But yeah, I think to your point, there's absolutely room for improvement and to make the switching to world tiers a little better. I just much prefer this to like because I just never engaged with the end game in Diablo. I was always too afraid of it. I just stockpiled all of my end game materials and never spent any of them because I was like, what's the point? It's all just going to go away, right? And so now I have a reason to actually invest. Like I'm tempering, I'm mastering.
Because the whole game went away. See, that seems like a poor solution to me.
And then I don't think that's true. Every season the whole game goes away. That's what they do.
No, I've enjoyed all the seasons.
I know, but they still go away at the end of every season, right? They wipe all of your characters. They put them in the Eternal Realm, also known as the retirement home, right? There's nothing to do with those characters. So this is not a unique problem. This has always been the problem.
None of the seasons changed the entire progression of the game.
That's not true. Loot Reborn did it.
Loot Reborn changed the way the loot operates. It didn't change your progression.
Also known as the progression in a loot game. The loot is the progression.
And on that versus note, we're gonna move on. We've been on this for a while.
I can't convince Travis on this. He is stuck in the mud on Diablo 4 is fantastic now, and Blizzard can do no wrong. You can choose to feel however you like about that.
They did pretty wrong with the campaign. I'm not stuck in the mud. I simply prefer this system, and I think that the old way was stuck in the mud of like, it was so geared toward the hardcore people who wanted to play hundreds of hours of Diablo that I couldn't even get close to engaging with it. Now I can. My hundreds of hour players are having fun with it. And also the more casual player myself who doesn't have time to play hundreds of hours is also having fun. So I think
you have 6 people at 60 in the current season, which is 3 days old, Travis.
True.
You must have some time to play.
No, I just I did the pit with my level 1 characters and I got the level 60 on each of them in like 15 minutes. So I had to. I'm making a video about all the new skills on every class, and so I had to get every class.
He's not playing it like a normal person would play. He's playing it in a group to make guides for a site. Like that's not the same.
I'm making guides for a site, and so I have to power level to the end game and yada yada. Yeah. It's like I'm playing it in a weird way, but yeah, like the way I played it in the review period and with my first character when the game was out was I played it like a normal person. I started getting 750s. I immediately started investing in those 750s and like doing the end game stuff. I started looking at my end game materials and going, oh, actually now I want to farm more of this material so that I can do this thing. I was never doing that.
Positives about this because they've done a good job. I've talked about the economy that they've run, but they've put things in different buckets for these different activities. And it really makes you bounce between the activities that you're doing and figuring out which way you want to go with the resources that you're acquiring in a really smart way. Like there's a lot of really good, smart stuff. And there seems to be like an almost infinite number of things that you can do when you want to play this game, which is really nice. So
which gets even broader at Torment, like it
does. Whereas before I just never even looked at my endgame materials or like thought about which activities I should run because that was just for like other 100 hours of players. Now I'm actually doing that, and it's I just think the end game is really strong. I totally get what you're saying, Hogue, as somebody who hasn't engaged with the end game yet, and you're kind of looking at it like, well, I don't like the early progression, so I'm probably not gonna like the end game. Give it a chance. I think as a fellow not as hardcore player, like somebody who doesn't play in the thousands of hours every season, like my buddy Kevin, that you'll probably find yourself engaging with it more. Maybe.
Yeah, no, I've played it this week. I've enjoyed what I've played. I love the art. I love the music. I love the way Diablo 4 feels. I talked about that. I'm just not sure that this progression system is going to keep me playing every season like the first one did.
We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. I don't know either.
All right. Well, we've talked about Diablo for a while. Let's get a couple super chats here that came in.
Don Lionheart gives $10 and writes, sorry, I was reading comments over here. Don Lionheart offers $10 and writes, "Hello all. Veiltober marches on. Played Mafia 2 for the first time since launch. It's awful. DLC is worse. Mafia 1 is much better. Mafia 3 next. Annual Eliza Schlesinger show on Thursday in Charleston."
Is that a singer of some kind? I was recently just introduced to Sabrina Carpenter, and I don't know what y'all see in her. So I apologize for this. You'll get another hot take here, but I watched videos on my social media about how awesome she is as a singer, and I swear to God, it doesn't sound like she's singing anything remotely like what's in the backing track at all. So
get ready for a question. Who?
Yeah,
Sabrina
it's this
Carpenter,
little blonde girl.
Let me tell you, she is a short blonde lady. She was a Disney actress.
Of course she was.
One of those child actress people. I know a lot about Sabrina Carpenter because my wife is obsessed with her and has pit tickets to her show in San Francisco later this year. So ask away. I'll tell you about Sabrina Carpenter.
All I can tell you is I was watching playoff baseball.
She's a pop star.
And they went to commercial with espresso. And I was like, what? What are we doing here, people?
Espresso.
She's a pop star. That explains why I don't know.
Espresso is a pretty good song.
It's an earworm. It's the stupidest lyrics you have ever heard in your life.
But it's fun, Hogue. And if you watch her show, it's fun and silly. And yeah, her stage performance. She's got a cartoon. She sits in a bubble bath. It's fun. It's fun stuff. Look, I'm not a music guy. I don't know.
Look, I understand I'm an old man shouting at a cloud on this. I get
you really
it.
are.
I'm just saying it was social media that introduced me to this person I didn't know existed until 5 minutes ago.
Well, you should have known she existed because she's been opening for Taylor Swift for years. Come on, Hogue. Come on.
Man, you're lucky I know who Taylor Swift is.
Yeah, I've not. I don't even know if I've heard a Taylor Swift song, but I do know about Sabrina Carpenter a lot.
I did not, but okay, now I know.
Sings all of her songs, listens to it in our Waymos.
All right. Waymos, nice. Continuing on from Don here.
Don Lionheart, $5 to write. Also, I advise everyone to explicitly not knowingly fly into potential natural disasters. Thankfully, the condo and I are okay. Didn't even lose power.
Yeah, he was flying into Florida the day before
Uncle Milton
hit. Yeah, so we were kind of concerned. Actually, we have 2 people in SG that are down in Florida, but luckily both are okay. Funny enough, one of the viral images that came out was the guy who writes for SG, Brian, his brother-in-law's neighborhood house got really destroyed. That neighborhood got destroyed, and there was a picture of one of those huge metal dumpsters, probably weighs tons, sitting on top of a house, because a tornado had come through there, and it's just like, it's insane what's going on down there. So hope everyone's safe. Don, thank you. Mr. Game Positive.
Game Positive offers a wrench and $2.79 Canadian to write. Will switching to Unreal stop the Smurf invasion? Maybe.
He's talking about Halo. I can talk about Smurf. He's joking. So if for those who don't know, a Smurf account is where in a free-to-play game, you're a very talented player. You don't want to play against people your own skill level. You just want to stomp on people, and so you create a new account.
Why would anybody want that, Ains?
Don't get me started. Don't get me started.
Halo forever, dude. In Halo 2, people used to use the Xbox 14 free trial days of Xbox Live to do this. We used to just sit in lobby sit in lobby
to make
and
you feel good about yourself because you can kill people who aren't as good at the game.
That's right. And
That's
I love
literally it,
people
Hogue.
who aren't as good.
That's literally it.
Doesn't the feeling good about yourself diminish when you know you're just...
You're going to ask logical, smart questions, Hogue. You're not talking to these people. These are people who don't think that way.
Some of them are streamers. So I encounter this in the live service multiplayer world sometimes, where they're like, "Oh, skill-based matchmaking is bad. It ruins my highlight reels, so I can't make a reel of me just like raffle stomping a bunch of people because I'm playing against good players." And I'm sure it is bad for streamers, because I just get that feedback a lot, is that, oh, well, I'm playing against like the top, 1%. But matchmaking is good for normal people who actually want to enjoy matches that are competitive and that they win 50% of the time, because somebody has to lose in a multiplayer match. But the Halo community for a very long time, all the way back.
It's not just Halo. It's any free to
I
play
think
shooter.
Halo was the first one I ever experienced where people were in lobbies just like killing themselves and betraying teammates to lower their skill level in the ranked Halo playlists.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Sure.
Why are they called Smurfs?
Ooh, that's actually a good question.
I think it's because a Smurf is like a
I don't know how that originated.
It's like a is it drug terminology, like the people who go and I think I'm not sure. Small armored creature. Aren't there's Smurfs in like the drug world, right? Like the people that you go to spend to go buy fentanyl. Those are called Smurfs.
See, them being small doesn't make sense. If they're a really strong thing in a new account, they're not Smurfs. They're like juggernauts pretending to be Smurfs.
Oh, here you go. Newspin's got us. Google says the term Smurf in gaming comes from two top players in the game Warcraft 2 who created new accounts to play against other top players who would avoid them. The players chose the names Papa Smurf. There you go.
Can I look you up? There we go.
History lesson on Bitcast today. But
there you go.
Anyway.
We learned something.
But Smurfing is out of control in Halo right now. It's real bad. Anytime I play, we get a Smurf. So it's Halo competitive. It's 4-on-4. There's a Smurf in our match probably 50 to 75% of the time.
Why would the engine changing affect this?
It wouldn't. He's just being goofy. That's just Eric being. Yeah. It would.
There are ways to stop it. The big problem is when you have free to play games, it's more common because they don't have to buy anything.
Yeah, they just create.
Typically, what they'll do is they'll do something where like, oh, well, you can't play in ranked matchmaking if you haven't played more than like 15 hours of the game, or they'll like put some limiter on it. I think Destiny's done that. Like you have to play 10 hours and you have to beat some campaign before you're allowed to actually do multiplayer matches. But it's really tough if you have a free to play product because they don't have to like pay a fee to make a new account, so they can just do it like every week, right?
Yeah. Halo added a thing recently where you have to have played 50 matches, and all of us were like, that's not enough. So all they do now is they'll go into the quickest matches that are like 3 minutes, play 50. They'll just not play. Do you know what I mean? They'll just have their controller on, get the 50.
Better than zero, though. It's better than zero. And the problem with making it more than 50 is that then you have a whole retinue of like actual players who will never unlock that mode because it's so high. And I get that problem too.
Oh, you're not going into ranked Halo if you haven't played hundreds and hundreds of matches.
That's not true.
And that's a bare minimum.
No, that's not true.
It's 100% true.
It's
you should not argue with me on this.
It's 100% true for people who are legit at it. But if your argument is that no one attempts ranked Halo matches without having played 100 matches, you're dead wrong.
Well, of course you can. Yeah, you can attempt it. Hogue, why would you ever go in a ranked Halo match?
Because
I'm in a lot of ranked matches to play all the content that's in my game.
People want to play the content that's in their game, and they want to see where they rank. They want to see what that game mode is like.
This is more common for Splatoon for me, by the way.
Yeah, they want to see if they could be good at it, right? Like, well, can I win a bronze 3 match? Can I win a bronze 2 match, etc. I think that those people should have the wherewithal to do it. I just think that if your Xbox account is brand new, then that's probably a bigger flag. I think there's better ways to approach it than like locking legit players out of a mode that they can.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Oh my gosh. Yes.
So you say that you've had a Smurf player in a bunch of your games. Other people I'm seeing in chat are saying that they've had it in a number of their games.
Yeah.
Presumably they're not announcing themselves as Smurfs. So you're saying that you've just played against somebody that seems to have a higher level of ability than you would expect for your matchmaking? Because
So
is this the same kind of thing on the internet as, oh, that guy must have had an aimbot or whatever? Like, do you just kind of feel like these are Smurfs and they might not be Smurfs?
No, you can. There's ways you can tell, and again, you got to remember you're coming from someone who has thousands and thousands of hours. And
I trust you on
Halo.
this, Ames. That's why I'm asking.
So especially once you get to a higher level. So what you typically see, right, is you'll be playing in high diamond or low onyx, right, which is higher levels of Halo ranked, before you really get crazy. And you'll see people that are in those matches who have played like 80 games. Which one, if you're actually a new player, that cannot be done. You will never last in a diamond or onyx lobby in Halo if you're a new player. You just won't. The other thing is, it's also become very common to use the default armor and the default 1 as your logo. So they basically are announcing, I'm a Smurf and I'm just going to kill you because I'm actually a very high level player who's using a new account. So and nothing happens. It's very frustrating. So anyway, Smurf conversation. You didn't expect that today, but there's your Bitcast.
I appreciate the comment, Game Positive, because I didn't know anything about this world. But
it's bad, dude. It ruins the game. It's
you know
real
that the
bad.
engine won't change it.
That's correct. Yes.
I am Gargamel in this Smurf discussion.
I try to be. I am sometimes, but some of these guys are too damn good.
Yeah.
So, Fifth String.
Probably good. Fifth String, member for 20 months. Music Cast. Did you hear Adam is back with 3 days grace? No idea. I assume this is a music reference.
3 days grace. I know the band, but I don't know who Adam is. I don't follow.
I preferred it when we were talking about Eliza Schlesinger. That's more my speed. All right, next.
Max, good to see you, man. Thank you. Don with another super chat.
Oh, here we go. Don Lionheart with $2. Eliza is a comedian. Mafia 2 gameplay equals bad. Story equals good.
That's
Eliza
probably
is
right.
A comedian. Eliza Schlesinger, winner of Last Comic Standing, I want to say.
God, that show was awful, wasn't it?
I mean, depends on the season. Some of the seasons were good.
Maybe I got the bad one. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a bunch of bad ones, but some of them are good. It just really depends on the host and the format.
Don, I'm going to grant you that on Mafia 2. It is not the strongest playing of the Mafia games. I do think the story is excellent, so I tend to be lighter. As
I would say that's
like
true of the entire series. Story's good, gameplay bad.
Mafia 1 remade has pretty good gameplay, I think.
Pretty good gameplay, I think. A ringing endorsement by Richard Hogue.
It's what it says on the tin.
On the box art. Pretty
on
good.
The tin.
Pretty good gameplay, I think. Richard Hogue. It's really good. Really, such a ringing endorsement.
So we've been all over the place already today. Good to have you back, Hogue. Love it.
Yes, it's already been the morning, right?
Yeah. Let's talk before we jump over to the Halo Studio comment, which would have been a good segue with the Smurf thing. I do not want to be remiss of talking about Metaphor. So Metaphor, we had the prologue demo we talked about 2 weeks ago when you were here, Hogue. The game released officially Friday.
It did.
And I've got my collector's edition up here behind me. I only have about 2.5 hours. Maybe I'm very early, but I'm super into it already. It is, as I mentioned previously, the thing I love about this as compared to some JRPGs, it's just the pure artistic nature of the game. They kind of let everything hang out. It's pure style, but while also having substance. And so far, I really like the setup of what they're going for. The battle system's already a lot of fun. And loving the character so far, too. So I'm having a good time, but I can't talk too much about it because I'm very early. Hogue, I don't know if you're any further than me.
I'm about 18 hours in, so I'm a little further.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you're loving it?
Yeah, Metaphor is fantastic, folks. Persona 5 was one of my favorite RPGs of all time. It had a fantastic system, both with the calendar and in the battles and the dungeons that you would go through. This takes all of that, despite Travis's face making, and puts it into a fantasy world. And then on top of that, wants to talk about things like St. Thomas More and thoughts about how to organize society. So it's really, really interesting. It has fantastic music. As Ain says, it's tremendously stylish. It has wonderful animation, really cool characters, and is almost certainly going to wind up being my game of the year. But as Travis would point out, there's a lot of games coming out in November and at least one in December. So we'll hold off on that. But
let's not prejudge the case, Hogue.
Right this second, at this moment in time, it's my favorite experience of the year.
Let me ask this. I've got one question for you, someone who's further than I by quite a bit. So far, again, I'm like still in the prologue, so understandable. But so far, when you get to the levels where you're walking around and you can attack the enemies in real time and switch it to the turn-based, which is awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
But those confined areas are very small. Does it get to a point where you can explore kind of freely, like open world?
Did you play Persona 5?
Yes.
So those dungeons that are enormous and have like multiple parts with like places where you can rest in between.
The palaces?
Those exist in this game. Yes.
Okay. I feel better now. Okay. Because I was like, all right, this is a little linear for me so far, which same problem I had early on in Final Fantasy 16. But I'm into this a lot more than I was Final Fantasy 16 just because of the style and kind of the way they approach the game. So
yeah, from moment one, when you hit press start on Metaphor, it explains to you that this is going to be a literal metaphor, and we're going to talk about Thomas More of all things.
Actually, when you press start, it shows an anime boy commit murder, and then it tells you that it's a little metaphor. So don't forget.
No, the start button is after.
No,
it is.
You press start, you see an anime murder. Do not lie to the audience.
No, that's
anime murder.
That's before the press start screen.
That's actually true. It is before, but
I think he's right. I think Hogue's right. Yeah.
There's 2 press start screens. One is an anime murder.
No, selecting the application and starting it is different than the start screen.
Okay, but when I open the game, it doesn't show me an anime murder.
Guys,
I didn't say when you open the game. I said when you press start.
This is not relevant to our conversation.
I'm gonna kill Hogue. This is the most heated I've ever been.
As for anime boys killing things, yes, you get a lot of that. It's a dark fantasy kind of approach with anime, like I talked about 2 weeks ago, that's closest to like Lodos War or an old game called Elemental Gearbolt. Metaphor is fantastic. Go in with as little information as possible, honestly. You can see.
I always just say that for life. Go in with as little information.
You can see Ains has a version of the fantasy book in the story, and
it's awesome. Look,
folks that know me know that one of my favorite themes in stories is like the story.
So lame.
Look, it's got this awesome art book, dude. I love art books. It's awesome.
Honestly, I want that soundtrack. Good job, Ains.
Yeah, I have it. I may have an extra one coming.
I think
I ordered it twice.
I hope you got bullied.
If you do have an extra one, you have a place to sell it.
They are going for like quite a bit.
I can't afford quite a bit.
If you are a physical collector of some sorts, the CE for it is really nice, as you can see.
If you're a non-corporeal collector, buy something.
Are you playing this game, Travis, or no?
I don't play anything the Japanese have made, so out. Nope. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm playing this one. So as somebody who loves Persona, but really didn't connect with 4 and 5 the same way as I did with some of the older games. So 5, full disclosure, I played it before the Royale edition. And
it's just Royal. It's not Royale.
No, it's Royale with cheese is how I pronounce it. Okay. Before I didn't play Persona 5 Royale with cheese. I played Persona 5 regular regular
also
hamburger
fantastic.
edition.
Yeah, it was excellent.
The base version had a lot of problems for me. I hate the combat system where you have to like get lucky and guess what their weakness is, and if you get it wrong, then they apply you with status effects and murder you. I did play the game on hard, so there's a little bit of that, but the combat system I think is totally wonky in that game. It's
fantastic, and I will say that the Metaphor combat system both has solutions for the guesswork aspect of it, and
guess what?
And has changed some of the bonus turns to go along with what they did with Shin Megami Tensei 5.
And guess what other games had solves for these problems? The previous Persona games. So that's my problem, is that I think that they took a backtrack and they took a step backwards in the wrong direction in terms of gameplay. I hated the cat telling me what to do every single step of the day. There were lots of problems.
There is a cat telling you what to do in this one. Sorry, Travis.
I know there is. But in Persona 5 Royal, they fixed Royale with cheese. They fixed a lot of the problems I had with the game, and I was like, well, I already put 110 hours in that game and beat it, so I'm never going to experience that version of it. So for me, Persona 5 is not the best Persona game. I know that that's a controversial take, but I will say my time with Metaphor so far, love it. So is it going to be my game of the year? We don't know. But
and if anybody wants to discuss Man for All Seasons with me in relationship to Metaphor, I'm ready to go.
And if anybody wants to talk to me about anime boys committing murder, my DMs are open.
I think there's a fair amount of questions about what happens in that intro, but
what's that?
We can talk about that offline. I think there's a fair amount of questions about what happens in that intro.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm very excited to continue that journey. These games, for whatever reason, unlike other JRPGs, grab me, and I really enjoy them. So I'm happy this is out. I'm happy it's as good as we hoped it would be. It seems anyway. It's a very, very high, shared review score. So it'll be in the Game of the Year conversation, I'm sure, for a lot of people. So, all right, we've been going for a while, so let's segue over to the Halo Studio, some of the Xbox in general announcements, because we not only got the Halo Studios announcement at the World Championship, but we got the Xbox ecosystem stuff with the Android store and the streaming. So we'll start with Halo. You know me, I could talk an awful lot about this. I'll try and keep it high level, and then if anyone has any questions, you can pose them. But basically, at the World Championship last Sunday, Pierre Hines, came out, who is the new head of 343, now Halo Studios. He is a very non-social guy. In fact, this is the first time he's spoken to the public since becoming the head of the studio last year. He just doesn't typically do that, but he wanted to talk about where they're going. So if you didn't catch this, basically what they confirmed is that about 2 years ago, they started to do a project internally to experiment with Unreal Engine to see if it would make sense to move Halo to Unreal Engine. They've done some experimentation in the past. They never went with it. So for Infinite, they built their own engine just because of a lot of physics problems, open world stuff. Now they've decided to go with Unreal, and they confirmed that. He also talked about there being multiple projects in the works. So they have more than one. I think the current speculation is 3 projects that they're working on. But they also said that this test bed in Unreal was just that. It was an internal project to test a lot of things, right, in the Unreal Engine to make sure they could work. It was not a game announcement, is what they made clear.
Yeah, it looked like a video where they were trying to show that they can make things look like Halo in the new engine. Is that
correct?
Accurate?
Yeah, correct.
Tough.
And so
engines have been a problem for Halo in the past because there's a lot of legacy code. So it'd be interesting.
A lot of old code in the Blam engine, which comes from.
And the video doesn't prove that it'll play like Halo.
Exactly.
Correct.
I think that they were trying to assuage some of the concerns about is a grenade going to feel like a grenade in Halo, because there's a lot of legacy code, and I don't think they answered that, but I think they are off on the right foot based on the community's feedback so far.
It's an impressive video.
Yeah, it is. And I like the little Vidoc. I thought that was cool that they did that. So if you haven't checked that out, check it out. So some of this was good to see, or it was all good to see. I think the open questions. So I was joking with others because now, people are talking about this, and I've talked about this a lot, not only on Bitcast, but in other channels. And so I went back and looked, and it was February of last year. So nearly 2 years ago that me and a few others kind of confirmed this was happening. To Travis's earlier point, when this first came up, which I think was at the end of 2022, I said, I said that I didn't think they would switch engines just because they've tried in the past. The complexity around it is insane, and it would take a long time to do so. It didn't seem feasible at the time.
Millions of dollars building their own engine, a year before.
A lot of time and money.
Yeah, there were a huge number of Xbox blog posts about the power of the slip space.
Uh-huh. And I think that engine is good. The problem that they were facing, just from what I have seen, is that you can't hire people, especially as a contractor, to work on your custom engine. It's a lot easier to hire people who have a familiarity with Unreal Engine 5.
That is correct. That's
kind of the problem.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's a weird thing because there's lots of studios, especially bigger ones with bigger budgets, that have their own engines, and they figure out how to hire people permanently and teach them how to use the engine, etc. And it's weird that Microsoft couldn't do that. I would just think you'd hire people and you'd teach them how to use your engine that was made to do the specific thing.
I think Microsoft proper has favorites contracting and outside consulting more than
just weird.
employees.
It's just that's not how you staff a custom engine that you built, and you should know that when you were building in a custom engine that you're going to have.
Microsoft again is not a gaming company as much as it's a software company, and so they're trying to bring some of their policies into gaming, and maybe it's not a good fit. Maybe they're finding that right now.
Yeah,
I was going to touch on all this.
Figure it out.
Okay.
The problem is that Microsoft, what you guys are dancing around, has a policy, and this has been proven and talked about behind the scenes for years now, that you can only have a contractor for 18 months. And so what we heard out of the people within 343, and we heard within the people that turned 10 on the new Forza and other games, is that, to your point, Travis, they come in, it takes them a while to learn the nuances of the engine. And by the time they learn it, they're gone. And there's this constant relearning of code that is just impossible when you're talking about projects as large as Forza or Halo. And so there's a twofold solution here, which they're trying to solve for, which is, one, they haven't solved the contractor issue. I still think that's a major issue that Xbox as a entity within Microsoft has to solve. Because to your point, Travis, you've got all these studios now, including Bethesda and Activision studios. You've got to get rid of this stupid contractor problem. You're still going to use contractors for various things in the gaming industry. They all do it, right? You can do that. But if you're talking about your fundamental developers of key things like your AI in a game, your physics engines or your physics aspects of games, you cannot keep having people come in new. It doesn't work.
One thing, I'm pretty sure, I might be speaking out of pocket, so I'm sure the comments will correct me. I'm pretty sure it's a state of Washington law that has them the contractor 18-month thing.
It is part of law in California and Washington to a degree, yes.
Yeah, so that to me seems like a problem that maybe they can't fix on their own. But I do think you switch to Unreal Engine, you can
fix on your own. Hire the people full time.
Oh, 100%. And that's what I was arguing just moments ago. Like they could just hire these people.
Yes.
That way the contractor model is insane for using a custom engine, especially. But I think their hope in switching to Unreal Engine 5 is that you then get to skip the training period. You just hire people who already have familiarity with the engine. You come in, help us build it. So I get their strategy here. It just seems like an insane time to figure out that you need to do that pivot when you built the engine and invested all that money. And God, I hope they're finding ways to reuse some of that.
You don't want to get stuck in the sunk cost evaluation.
Oh, that's 100% true. Yeah,
of your engine. So it's good if you think the move is appropriate to make the move.
I think it was Pierre. From what I understand and what I've heard, is that it was Pierre. Pierre had a lot of confidence in him as a leader. He helped get MCC back on track, and he kind of came in. And as you remember, they let go of all the longtime Halo leadership, including some toxic leaders from what we know, like the Frank O'Connors of the world, people that have been there since the beginning of Halo. And they're all gone. And from what I understand, Pierre was the one who started this reevaluation again and really had the power to convince them that this is the direction they needed to go.
I think it is smart. Like ultimately, just because Unreal is sort of becoming a monster that you can't say no to. Like they're so embedded in like game design, and it's honestly kind of scary.
I don't think it's great for gaming.
It's not great for gaming at all. But I think if you're making a Halo and you're looking at what's happening with the gaming market, Unreal is like the safe bet when you're facing a lot of uncertainty. It just bums me out because if Microsoft, with all of their resources, can't successfully own and operate their own engine on their biggest flagship IP, then what the hell hope do small or medium-sized game development companies have?
I mean, that I think that they've been butchering Halo for a while now. I think that's one of the reasons you see the name change. I'm sure we can get into that. But there are companies, obviously, that have their own engines and that operate well. We're going to play one on its own engine pretty soon with Veilguard. And I think an interesting part... Yeah, that's Electronic Arts, but
large company is my point. Huge.
Yeah, they're a large company. Yeah. Now that you've interrupted, continue.
No, I'm just saying it's a large company. I'm more worried about the smaller companies that don't have that ability to build their own engine, and their options are narrowing in the market.
There's a bunch of interesting things about Unreal and Epic in general, right? Sony's a major investor in Epic. Microsoft licensing from them is its own kind of story there, just like all the other connections we have between Microsoft and Sony. Again, indicating that the console wars are really all in your own head, console warriors. But hey, don't let me get that too incendiary here on a nice Sunday early afternoon. But yeah, I don't know what else to say about this particular topic. We're years away from seeing what might happen to Halo. I guess I want to ask a question, Ains. Do you think this marks the end of the Halo Infinite project?
Generally speaking, yes. So we'll see Infinite continue. The nice thing is they have announced that they're doing a 4th season of the World Championship. So next year we'll have the full, kind of pro tour again, if you will, which is we didn't think was going to happen. A lot of people thought that this was going to be it for that. So that's good. I think you'll continue to see releases in Infinite, the monthly updates and the events. They have a Halloween event right now. You'll see that kind of stuff. But 100%, you're not going to see anything beyond that.
Okay.
At this point.
Follow-up question. Do you think they'll change the title to Halo Finite? Maybe with the subtitle of "Our bad, it turns out there were actually limitations." It was not.
Yeah. It's sad. It's kind of sad because we've talked about it. We don't have to stay on it forever, but what could have happened there was a lot different, in the way that Infinite ends and what the story that can continue there. I hope they continue that with the next project.
By the way,
an audio
still
logs.
a great game. I just want to point that out. The campaign's great. The multiplayer's great. It's insane that this happened 100% based on management and not the quality of the game, but them's the breaks. It's a bummer.
I don't love Infinite. I don't think it connected with the audience.
Yeah, but you're bad.
Connect with. I know I'm bad. This is what the internet tells me. But there's a reason that it didn't continue the way that they had planned for it to continue. There's a reason that they fired most of the upper echelons of that company, and there's a reason that they changed the name. And it's not because Halo Infinite was widely regarded as the best thing since sliced bread.
I mean, I actually disagree with that. I think Halo Infinite's reception was incredibly positive, and the player base that was meant to like it really does like it. I honestly just think it's 100% bad management of a game that was doing well. That they if you look at live service games that have been successful, 95% of them had a much weaker launch than Halo Infinite. Much weaker. Look at Destiny.
Yeah, but it has the pedigree of Halo to have to meet. It didn't.
Yeah, Destiny had the pedigree of Bungie development and that sort of thing, and it fell so short of that for the first year it was out, and it came back. My point is, if you're a live service game and you look at Halo Infinite's launch, you're going, damn, that is incredible reception, incredible to build momentum off of it. And the failing of Halo will always be not that the game was bad or that they did anything wrong with the game, but that their follow-up and the live service delivery was an utter failure and completely avoidable. And
but making Halo into a live service weird kind of half hybrid proxy thing was the mistake in its inception. It's the original sin. It's why it could never meet the rest of the Halo series.
This is the problem with people who don't understand live service, is when a game fails.
When you decided to make it live service is when you messed up.
That's what people say who don't understand live service, that when a game fails, they point at the model and they go, well, it was the model that's the problem. You don't make live service games. No, there's way too many very successful live service games in this genre to suggest that the model has anything to do with its failings. It's the execution of the model. Just like a non-live service game can be executed poorly, a live service game can be executed poorly. And this was an example of a really, really great game that had an absolutely terrible live service execution. And that's why this has fallen apart. And it's a bummer to see, because if they had prepared for this better. And by the way, the contractor law, it's a good law. If somebody's working for you for more than 18 months, they're not a contractor. So there's just so much about this that really frustrates me. It's 100% Microsoft management, unwilling to hire these people and invest in it, even though they built the engine. And I mean, God, man.
It's a good law because Travis says you shouldn't be able to make those contracts, folks. Remember, Travis told you
It's a good law because companies will take advantage of you and call you a contractor for the rest of your life if they think they can get away with it. And there's a lot of pressure in the economy for you to say yes to it when you don't have other options. So yeah, I think it's a good law. But of course, Hoag's going to side on the side of corporations and not.
I side on the side of freedom of contract and the ability of the people to sign what it is that they want to sign. And
of course, not all people actually
beholden to various state legislatures.
Yeah. Of course, not all people have that freedom and are bullied into doing it because of the market,
Halo.
Whatever.
Well, now they're bullied into not doing it.
Halo.
Mm-hmm. Halo.
Yes. So the big question now, so let's move forward, right? The big question now is, okay, so what are they working on? I think my personal belief is that because they're doing a new engine, because to Hoag's earlier point, everyone knows they need to confirm that this can feel like Halo, which sounds weird, but if you know Halo, you know about all the unique physics in it. You know about all the different aspects it has for vehicle play, which Unreal's not traditionally good at. Weaponry, grenades, AI. There's a whole bunch of aspects that goes into a Halo game, and it has to be able to do that across campaign, multiplayer, and PvE activities as well. So I think what they're going to do, and I think others are in the same boat, at least the people I talk to, is this video looked like they're teeing up a remake of CE, which is going to be, and I think a lot of other people are talking about this, I think it'll be a full platform title. By that, I mean it'll be on PlayStation as well.
I don't see why that should be the assumption. Because PlayStation runs Unreal games?
No.
I mean, where does the assumption come from?
Because there's been just conversations around bringing Halo to a broader audience. And I think the assumption is that games like a Halo in today's world in 2024 or the future that launch with a free-to-play multiplayer, which Infinite did, and it probably will continue to be a free-to-play multiplayer because that is the model that the market dictates right now. You're much more powerful if you can be on all platforms. And so I don't know, that is the separate part of the speculation, I think, but I do think that you build a project smaller in scope that builds upon something that's already known to test the engine change. I do not think you immediately go into a launch of your next Halo game first. And so the other problem you have is that they've said they've spent 2 years now, or about 2 years, give or take, playing around with Unreal to see if this is going to work, right? And I'm sure they have a lot of foundational work built. From what we understand behind the scenes, one of the big things they had to do was make sure that Forge could work in Unreal. And once they got over that hump, then it was more of a confirmation of if we can get Forge to work and all the nuances of the Forge code, right? Then we can move to Unreal fully for the game. So if I'm a betting man, and I am at times, I think we see an announcement of a remake, maybe next year, maybe at Worlds again, an announcement for the future, not the game launching, of a remake. And then that will be the test bed to launch Halo into the new generation, whatever that looks like. But a new Halo game, I would be willing to bet is years and years away yet, like I've said before.
I agree that it's a ways away. I don't think the people saying that because it's a live service game, it's going to be on all consoles are probably off the mark on that one. Okay. I agree that the Xbox community, specifically Xbox console, I guess I have to clarify, is not big enough to sustain a exclusive live service, but methinks the PC market is probably healthy enough to do it. And I don't know,
to do what?
To sustain a live service game and healthy player populations and that sort of stuff.
It didn't for Infinite.
It's true, but Infinite was a terrible live service game.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, even in a multiplayer aspect, Infinite succeeded on Xbox very strongly for the past 2.5 years, up until about 6 months ago. It started to fall off.
Yeah, I would argue it's a content drought, and your inability to continue to engage your players is the problem. So
it could be. I mean, yeah,
it's really hard to judge Infinite as like a litmus test for the appetite in the market because the live service execution was it fell
also
so short.
True. We've talked about that. Yep.
Yeah. I just think, they could give it another chance, or maybe they could try it for a year and then see if it needs to come to other consoles. But my instincts tell me that they lose more putting it on other consoles than they gain, but we'll see.
I guess I just don't know why moving to Unreal or changing the name of the studios leads you to believe that it would be on PlayStation, right? We don't even know what the next project is going to be. And I think the assumption of it being Combat Evolved also doesn't necessarily track, because if I'm going to prove that my new engine can look like Halo, chances are I'm going to use the most iconic imagery I can think of, and that's mostly going to be Combat Evolved.
Yeah, and
Yes,
also to make
true.
sure it plays like Halo, right? Like you want to be able to show them Combat Evolved and be like, does this feel right? And if it doesn't feel right, like what areas is it missing and that sort of thing.
Yeah, which might kind of accidentally lead into making just another remake of the first game. I'm just saying that if for this particular project of let's prove that Unreal can do this, I think you'd use the assets or the look and feel of Combat Evolved without necessarily committing to making Combat Evolved again. I mean, they just remade this not so long ago.
My guess would be Halo 3. Halo 3 is the only mainline game to not receive a in the original trilogy to not receive a remake, right? So
I mean, I'd push for ODST, but I'm a loner out here, hey.
I like ODST too, but you don't build a flood world for ODST. And they have a flood world which is featured pretty heavily in Halo 3. So I think there's a pretty good chance we get a Halo 3 remake.
Cool. We can talk to a crazy plant again. Good time.
Yeah, exactly.
Halo 3. The only thing with Halo 3 and 343 has talked about this, of course, things change all the time, as we just saw. But they said the main reason they haven't remastered Halo 3 is because you're basically getting a Halo 3 remaster in MCC. It plays 4K 60, everything's updated. Like, it's not really worth a full remake, but we'll see. I think that the artistic direction of the video we got this past week, the minute and a half or so they show, or the minute, is all really around the world, as you said. But the Chief's armor, the Elite's armor, the Magnum CE, or the CE Magnum, I should say, it's all Halo CE. So they could have done that just because it's iconic, right? Like Halo fans knew that was going to be. So we'll see. I don't think any of us know. I'm just telling you what I think.
It's gonna be Halo Combat Evolved remake.
I do.
Yeah. Another one?
Yeah. That remake was like 13 years ago, man.
I know, but Halo 3 was even longer.
Well, I do think that there's a certain amount of irony in giving a remake to PlayStation if that's what they wound up doing. God knows Sony needs one.
Yeah. I mean, that was a separate topic. I've been asked a lot of times, do you think we'll see Halo on PlayStation? And I said yes at some point. I think so. Now, what that means or in what capacity, I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Master Chief is in Fortnite on my PlayStation, but I figure that's not what you mean.
No, I just want more people to shoot multiplayer. You know what I mean? And they'll be using a dual sense in multiplayer. Who wouldn't want them in the game?
PlayStation players don't play multiplayer games.
Oh. All right.
Look no further than Concord. You know what I mean?
Like, there are a number of things that went into Concord that don't mean PlayStation players don't play.
Oh, so now you're on the other side of the argument. I
liked
Concord. Not the model, huh?
I liked Concord a lot.
It didn't take up with Steam either, so there's a lot to talk about.
I think the reason Concord failed is it's because of its model, right? You can't just release a game for a price and then that be it. You see how stupid the argument sounds when it's not about live service?
I was reading a comment and completely missed your guys' two comments, so I don't even know what you said.
I don't know that he made any sense, Haynes. It's fine.
Yeah, I actually did not make any sense on purpose to point out that the other argument also makes no sense. But yeah, people blame the model. Oh, Concord failed because they sold it for a flat cost and didn't have a free-to-play live service.
There's a lot of reasons why Concord failed. I don't think it's one
exactly
thing.
My point. So blaming the model is stupid. I'm being sarcastic.
Okay. Well, by the way, not to change the subject because we've got the streaming thing to talk about, but did you see someone found that they were updating the Concord Steam database files this week?
I did, yeah.
So bring it back. Come on.
I told you that it felt like the plan was to bring it back free to play.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I think that's what most people's assuming.
I still think that is true.
I hope so. We've said it. I liked it. I'll play it. Let's go.
I won't play it. I did like it. Not enough to keep playing. But yeah.
My Concord controller still works for Metaphor. I'm good either way.
You have a Concord controller. They didn't refund that too?
No, it's worth a ton of money. Come on. Why would you refund it? I have one sitting in the box over there. Come on.
I actually use mine.
It's probably only going to be worth a ton of money for a small period of time because
I
if it
know,
comes
I'm thinking
back,
about
it
selling it.
immediately is going to drop to zero. If they bring it back free to play, your controller is worthless, bro.
That's fine. I don't
It still
care.
plays my PlayStation.
Yeah, it still plays. So the bigger news we got this week out of Xbox, well, I won't say the bigger news, but the other news that's large is, we've been talking about Xbox and the ecosystem for a while. They've been talking about, they want to play anywhere. They want you to be able to access your games anywhere. And they've been kind of taking this step journey, which, from a technical perspective is incredibly complex. So they're starting to get there. And there was a ruling, which I'm sure, Ho, you can elaborate on if you want to, this week, that basically starting on November 1st or beginning November 1st, the Android store cannot require, tell me if I state this wrong, cannot require Google Play to access basically games on it or like access to services on that. You may have better detail than me, of course.
Yeah, let's roll this back a step, right? Because
Okay.
this was the description of the injunction the court granted after a jury found that Google had violated antitrust laws by having essentially contractual requirements to third-party manufacturers of things like phones about what they could have on those phone operating systems along with the Google Play Store, right? So the jury finds that that's an antitrust violation because it's a contract and restraint of trade. And then the court has to come up with how are we going to fix this? What are we going to do to prevent this antitrust violation in the future? The injunction comes out, I think it's 3 years long, I believe. I'm not looking at it right this second in front of me, but for 3 years, they're not allowed to essentially tie access to the Google Play app and their operating system in a way that prevents other competing stores from operating on that other third-party manufacturing. People ask me this question about why Apple won and Google lost. And when these cases started, I said, well, it's a different situation because Google doesn't make their phones, right? Google licenses out their operating system, licenses out their magic sauce to Samsung or whomever, and then says, you're not allowed to do what you want with your phone as long as you use what we're giving you. And that's a whole different ball of wax than Apple saying we make the phone we want to make. And it might not feel different on the ground. And I understand the people that are on Tim Sweeney's and Epic's side of all of this stuff, but it's very different from a legal perspective. And so it did look like the stronger case that Epic was making was against Google than Apple. And that's what we have right now. But as part of this, Xbox, Microsoft is going to be one of the ones that take advantage of this, essentially cracking open the ecosystem.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Seems pretty monopolistic to me.
So what Sarah Bond came out and the rest of the executive team there at Xbox kind of confirmed is beginning in November after that, right? You'll be able
Google's definitely going to appeal this. I think one important legal discussion point here is that the appeal notification has already been made by Google. Google is going to appeal this, say that they have no right, even though they lost this jury case, to enjoin this particular contract type. I think that's not a strong appeal. As we say, appeals are for losers anyway. Most appeals are not granted on this score, but they're going to appeal it at bare minimum. That might well move the date. So when we talk about November, when we talk about December, we talk about next year, an appeal is going to take 6 to 9 months usually to get to a final disposition. So it's probably going to move the date.
Okay. All right. So fair enough.
Appeals are for losers.
So damn it. So whenever this opens up,
which means winners are unappealing.
Non-appealing, I think we would say, but yes.
No, don't ruin my joke, Hogue.
So Xbox announced, their Xbox app, they are going to allow you to buy games directly from the app in the future. But more importantly is they want to be able to open up so you'll be able to play your games directly from the app. Of course, I mean streaming here. And the other big aspect of this, which they've been talking about, is it's not just Xbox Game Pass games, but the games you own. And so that's your digital license games, right? Which was always the plan. It's just more around the licensing and how you access that and everything else. So there's still a lot of questions here, performance and license rights and everything else. But that is the plan. That's where Xbox has been driving for a while. And they also announced, or they're talking about that, they are internally testing their browser-based store, the one that Sarah and the team mentioned earlier this year, that was supposed to launch in July, by the way. But that testing began in August. I don't blame them for missing the date. These are huge technical things, like I said. So testing is ongoing right now as well.
Yeah, and from a legal perspective, the broadcast of your games through a streaming service, whether that's the Xbox Cloud or something else, is another thing that has to be licensed separately. So it's no question that Microsoft and Xbox has been working on this from some point in time where they would have gathered those rights as part of selling products through their stores and storefronts. But we don't know exactly when that time was. And presumably they never wanted to only offer it to 60% of games that you might own because the licenses would be too far back to have that right going forward. So they've been working on that for a long time. It's a legal problem as much as anything else. And so it seems like with this announcement that they're going to go to a full kind of, you have a digital copy, you can play it anywhere, that they've managed to overcome some of those legal and technical issues at the same time. So I think it's good news for anybody with any kind of Xbox library, because you're going to be able to access these things in different places. But I don't know whether it's going to drive people into an Xbox ecosystem or not long term.
No,
Will
I think
anything drive people into an Xbox ecosystem long term? That's the question.
I think this is this is a very big thing. I think the thing you have to kind of figure out, to your point, I know you're joking, Travis, but it's a serious question as well, right? Is how do you market joking. This? Yeah, like how do you get the mass market to understand the significance of being able to access your game library, your digital game library anywhere? Like truly access it anywhere, right? Without,
I think you need some of those Switch commercials. I mean, I'm only mildly joking, but you know those Switch commercials where they had the yuppies on the New York rooftop playing their Switch, that kind of thing. I think you need some people playing a game you wouldn't expect that's in their Xbox backwards compatibility library, playing on their phone on a subway or what have you, and having that kind of advertisement campaign that establishes that everything that I ever purchased through Xbox is now available to me. I can't do that with any of my other stuff, and just keep pushing that value proposition.
Did I tell you guys that I was that commercial at one point?
You played a Switch on a rooftop in New York?
I did. Rooftop barbecue in San Francisco. But
all right.
I was in San Francisco at a party, and this was when I was reviewing Everybody 1-2 Switch.
I think you might have mentioned it.
Yeah, I was trying to get that entire weekend. I was trying to get people near me to play this game so that I could play enough matches to review it. And I was on a rooftop party. Everything was going great. And I was like, "Hey guys, wouldn't it be cool if we stopped what we were doing right now and played Everybody 1-2 Switch?" And the group was so mad at me for making.
Wouldn't it be cool?
It was not a good game, but I was like, "Guys, we're like in that commercial where they played on a rooftop. We're just like that." And everybody was like, "Shut up, Travis. This sucks."
By the way, can I say that like 4 or 6 or however many people huddled around all looking at a Switch screen to play a game is probably the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Hey, the Hogue family has done that. So
if it makes you feel any better, the game was way worse than the screen experience. There's a mini game where you have to remember children's ice cream orders and then serve them ice cream. You could do anything in video games. You could slay dragons, but no. We are becoming food service employees
Hey, you know what? In an industry where Power Wash Simulator is as popular as it is, I'm not going to begrudge Nintendo for trying to sell ice creams. And I guess
washing is at least a hobby.
Ains, you asked me before the show whether we missed anything. I guess we missed Alarmo when we were talking about the pre-show here as to what we want to discuss. You don't want to talk about Alarmo? It's crazy. This thing is nuts.
We're talking about like cloud infrastructure to stream your own licensed games across the world on any device. And you're like, Nintendo announced Alarmo.
And Nintendo, at the same time, Nintendo announced a $100 alarm clock.
Okay.
That will study your body movements, except if you're sleeping with another person, which tells you what Nintendo's expecting about the audience for this product. But hey.
Oh my God.
Nah, I can't make that joke on the show. Okay, well, that's a line I can't cross. I was going to make a joke about other timekeeping devices that have recently been announced. Well, good. Yeah, good times.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I tweeted this out, but we joke. I love that the gaming industry has Nintendo. I think every industry should have a complete whack job member that is just moving in its own direction, and maybe something works and maybe something doesn't. They're spending their own money, their own risk. And yes, everybody else will follow if something works. They don't follow Labo. They're not making their own construction paper and cardboard things for you. They might not follow Alarmo. I can't imagine they will, but it's good that this stuff exists. Craziness is good.
I completely agree.
I
And
find
it's
it alarming.
it's Nintendo, and it will not surprise me if this thing sells millions of units, because every guess I make about Nintendo tends to be wrong. So,
That's why
it's
I
not
think
for me.
people who say the Switch 2 is just going to be a Switch 2 are like way over betting on that. Like maybe, but I also
as long
would
as
have
it plays
guessed.
my Switch library, I'm okay with whatever other weird things they want to do. Nintendo, if you want to make the Switch 2 into something that transforms into some kind of mechanical flying airplane, fine, great. Do whatever you feel like. Just make sure that my library plays on it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
They might,
No
they might. Their next console, you can only play games on, QR code skins, and your entire library is invalidated. We don't know. We have no clue.
Hold up the QR code at all times.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I
maybe,
think we
maybe
often
the
forget.
Switch 2 is a VR headset. I have no idea. And I used to make predictions about Nintendo, and I stopped doing that years ago. So
Yeah, and Nintendo actually, PlayStation is like this too, especially when we sit in the US. Like their brand power and the power of Zelda and the power of Mario is beyond comprehension sometimes. You know what I mean? Like I think we underestimate the power of those IPs and that name, especially in other global markets.
How would you guys react if the Switch 2 announcement came out and the device was called the Wii U Pro? It's like that meme of Jeb Bush standing in front of the electoral map, like, Wii U Pro, it came back.
They get Steve Ballmer to do the stage presentation.
The Wii U just took over.
Oh, God.
I'm sorry to take the spotlight away from Microsoft and their Play Anywhere initiative, because I think it's important. But I think Alarmo is equally important, because Nintendo are nutbags, and we should support that kind of thing.
You say nutbags?
I did.
I've not heard that one. If you're gonna carry nuts, you carry them in a case, sir. We don't need any of this loose
a
bags.
tin. All right.
Tin. I've heard nut case, nut bag. Interesting style. They keep it a little hokey in Michigan. Little more. They don't have those fancy cases with their knobs and doodads. They just have a little sack.
A little hoagie in Michigan. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you guys are killing me.
Sorry, I had to comment on nut bag. That cannot go uncommented on. I'm sorry.
Have you never gotten a bag of peanuts at the old ballpark? No?
I am, but that's simply not the phrase. Sir, they come in cases.
We got a couple super chats to grab here.
George Green Thumbs offers $4.99 to write. What kind of seasoning are seasoned gamers seasoned with? Salt, pepper, paprika?
Oh, not salt. Oh no, my medical doctors. My medical doctors say no to salt.
I think
that says paprika, not paprika.
Oh, you're right. Sorry, paprika. I self-corrected. I should be better about doing that. Thank you for pointing out whenever I don't mispronounce comments. As you can tell from the feedback, people really love when I mispronounce their comments.
True. Yeah.
I think it's mostly salt, based on the fact that most of the older gamers I know are unhappy.
God damn it.
I'm gonna say cumin.
Cumin is underrated, but a little pinch goes a long way, people. Be careful about cumin. Like literally, if you're cooking chicken and you put like a half a teaspoon of cumin in there, you're going to feel it. So
it's strong.
Self-regulate. Yeah. It's strong, guys.
Pepper mostly, yes. Onions, which isn't a seasoning, but
onions are not a seasoning, but I will take it because all the flavor comes from onions. So you got to have
onions. Add it to everything. Come on.
If you say that you don't eat onions, I hear I don't like flavor on my food.
If you season something with onions, how is it not a seasoning?
That's fair. And also there's like onion powder and various onion
garlic
salt
powder, another good one.
Yeah. There's a bunch of I am being hacked by Elgato.
Candy corn. You boil down some candy corn, pour that syrup on your stuff. Yeah.
You know what? I would
take a chicken breast, you put some boiled candy corn on it.
I wouldn't put it past Kansas City, to be honest.
Candy corn barbecue. Let's do it. All right. George Green Thumbs, thank you, my friend. Debbie W.
Debbie Dubs offers $5 and says, speaking of Power Wash Sim, it and Planet Crafter got new DLC this week, a Shrek DLC for Power Wash Simulator, and a new planet for Planet Crafter.
Cool.
Hey,
I love
I
Shrek DLCs.
I
don't
respect
even own
Power Wash Simulator and what they've been able to do with that concept.
For real. Yes.
I don't even own Power Wash Simulator, but I bought the Shrek DLC.
There you go.
Just on principle.
They those are popular games. I mean, yeah.
It's
Enjoy
cathartic. It is a nice meditative experience to Power Wash. I particularly like Power Wash Simulator in VR.
You're cathartic.
I am cathartic. That's why people come in and listen to me.
Debbie, thank you. Shoosh.
Shoosh offers €5 and writes, Travis's camera glitch suggests he is currently being hacked by Elgato. In a way, I am being hacked by Elgato.
He's being hacked by those Elon Musk robots. That's just how it is. He's in San Francisco.
Yeah, it's true. He's my neighbor now. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, you look. Sometimes you take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and then you have
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
Oh my God, Shoosh, thank you. All right,
you guys will get that reference because you're old.
Yes, this is
that was
true.
a know your audience comedy instinct in me. There you go, guys.
Yeah.
I got a big forehead. Me tapping my forehead just realized how much real estate I have here. I didn't have to worry about missing at all. Like I was like, I'm gonna hit forehead. I just kind of flick that finger wildly.
If you have trouble putting finger to forehead, the cognitive medical unit has some issues with you.
That's fair. But I'm just saying my target is much broader. I can do it with very great confidence.
So yeah, we'll see. To Hoag's point, we'll see what happens. Just to close out the Xbox thing, we'll see what happens with the appeal when this timeline actually starts to occur. But big news, regardless. And I think that the one thing I forgot to add is the fact that the portable market is expanding, right? With options from your Rogue Allies to your Steam Decks to your other things, right? Like, and there's rumors that Xbox is working on one as well. That's been speculated.
More than rumors.
Yeah,
They've basically said it multiple times. Yeah.
So I think that's it's pretty cool to think about a future where you can just play your game anywhere, which I think it's been dreamt about for a long time now. So pretty cool. The only thing I was going to ask you guys, and I can't remember. I know we talk about this, and I never remember how big you guys are on horror games.
Huge.
Okay. So with it being, we're in the horror season. By the way, shout out. We got Terrifier 3 in the theaters. We got Smile 2 next week. It's a good time for horror fans.
I just watched Speak No Evil last night, which I can highly recommend if you like to see James McAvoy lose his damn mind.
Speak No Evil. Is that the one where the family comes and stays with them?
Yes.
Okay. I haven't watched that one yet.
Just watched it last night.
If we're going to recommend, there's for the horror fans that are on Shudder, the Horror Network, there's a movie on there called Oddity. Very different, was very good. Check it out. What horror games outside of Silent Hill 2, which you can touch on, Ho, because I haven't played it yet, the remake.
What horror games? Silent Hill 2? What are these rules?
Yeah, talk about Silent Hill 2, and we can talk about the horror games that we'd normally play around this time or that you would recommend.
Yeah, so I started playing horror games at the top of October. This is my favorite month. I love to get into this vibe. I watch horror movies on Friday nights, which you'll note was not last night. Last night was Saturday night because we had to move it this week, but on Friday nights with one of my best friends. And we've been slowly incorporating my older daughter into that process.
Nice.
So, love horror movies. Love horror video games. I had been playing Dead Space, Alien Isolation. I was in the last half of the casting of Frank Stone. And what else is on my little dashboard that I've been playing on the horror side of things?
Speaking of which, why you segue that, we got Alien Isolation 2 announcement.
We did.
Would love them to try again.
To make it even better than the fantastic first entry.
The first entry is fantastic for the first couple hours, and then it spirals into a really bad direction. You end up engaging.
Travis has never been more wrong in his life, and you know what he has said, folks.
I think people who say that have not played the second half of that game because
Alien Isolation is fantastic.
It's fantastic for the first like third of the game, and then it progressively gets worse. And then by the end, you're fighting like a bunch of alien or AI androids with the bad shooting mechanics. It gets really bad, that game, by the way.
I do not have a versus for this frame that we keep
we'll
adjusting
have to work
every
on
week.
That,
but
Ains.
I know you guys are.
You must have an opinion on
these things.
Did you play past the halfway mark on that game?
I'd beaten Alien Isolation.
I'm talking about Haynes.
No, Alien Isolation. No, I have played it. I don't think I ever beat it.
Yeah, so that's most people, and I think most people who like don't have problems with that game didn't play most of it because it gets pretty bad in the end. I just think that if they could focus,
we're polling this.
If they could focus, well,
Alien Isolation is fantastic beginning to end, and the fact that it actually evolves over its game time is something that a lot of horror games don't do. The fact that Travis doesn't like it just tells you something about him.
I think what you mean is devolves. The game devolves over time. The problem is,
by the way,
it has a very good concept at the beginning when you're running away from the alien and hiding and all that stuff. I just think the pacing and then they try to escalate it, and they go into a world of like not being particularly good at shooting mechanics, and it's a whole bag of worms. But I do think a more focused experience, or maybe a game where they put more time into the combat, if they wanted that to be a major thing that you do in the game, which I don't think was the goal of the first one. They kind of shoehorned themselves into a corner there. Yeah, I mean, look, I think that game had a lot of potential and is a perfect type of game for a sequel. I just think that the original, it's a very flawed game.
I'd give Alien Isolation something like a 9. So yeah, you can put Travis in the box where he belongs, in the top right corner of your mind, and get Alien Isolation and play it. It's probably not that expensive. It's old, but play it this holiday season.
You should definitely play it.
It's going to be awesome for you.
Once you get through the halfway mark, you'll be like, okay, I think I played the good part of the game already.
And if you do play it, hook up your Kinect, because you can play it in Kinect mode where the alien will hear you if you make sound in your room. You guys remember that?
I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, it is actually integrated with Kinect. Yes. And you could make it so it'd pick up sounds in the room. If you're too loud, the alien would find you faster.
That's just a Microsoft. That's just a microphone function. Why was that a Kinect integration?
Because they were trying to make everything work.
Kinect was doing fun stuff. You could also tell.
No, I'm just saying, like, Sega could have put that on the microphone on either side. It doesn't require a Kinect to do that.
Xbox was trying some stuff during that period.
I think you're getting outpolled here. I mean, it's early, but I think generally the few that have commented have said that they really liked it.
Yeah, Isolation is great. Also, it's one of the best kind of
I don't believe
transmedia capturing the feel, the look and feel of the original in gaming. Like Alien Isolation is one of the best capturing of the alien vibe.
I agree. I think the game it's like the perfect game for a sequel. Like, you can immediately see the potential. A lot of the game is pretty strong, but there's like very clear opportunities for improvement. And I think definitely the way that they escalate that's my main problem with the game, is the escalation is it's just sort of the game gets away from them. But yeah. I want to see a sequel.
It's funny. That's what I was telling people on social media with respect to Rebirth, and I had the entire internet yell at me. So, hey.
I would agree with you on that one, too. So,
I think more people agree with you on the Rebirth thing than we may realize. I just think the Final Fantasy diehards are. I
was really surprised at the level of the Rebirth defense force, because I'm like, I'm not saying things that are terribly controversial. I like Rebirth as a game, but it really doesn't have its own story or plotline. I really don't think that this is something that should surprise you as a criticism of this particular game. And yet people were coming out and saying, what do you mean it doesn't? You get to explore an open world. You get to ride a chocobo. It's got a great combat system. I'm like, this is like listening to one of the presidential debates. That's not even what we were talking about, sir. So Wendy's, come on.
I think it's just that's a passionate fan base. You say anything about that?
I mean,
Final Fantasy.
I know you do, but
and by the way, the Alien fan base is pretty passionate too.
Yeah, but they've had to deal with Romulus and Prometheus, and they've had a lot of disappointment in their life.
Hey,
they understand.
Have you seen Romulus?
I have not seen Romulus. I was trying to come up with the second movie name, actually. What's after Prometheus?
Covenant's really bad.
Covenant's
terrible. I actually like
Romulus is really good.
Yeah, I was trying to come up with the second movie name. Sorry.
Romulus is good. I hope they do more of that.
I haven't played it yet.
The TV show.
I haven't watched it yet.
The TV show concerns me.
There's a TV show of Alien?
Yeah, they actually advertised the TV show or teased it at the beginning of Romulus. So yeah, aliens come to Earth.
It's called Aliens Earth, and it's a prequel. They're on Earth in a prequel. I just have a lot of questions about that. How that's going to be a TV show, because the series very much strikes me as like this should be a 90-minute movie where lots of people die, and I don't know how you do Alien over like 10 hours.
I'm just saying Alien has had a lot of misses, right?
We've
got Alien 3.
Yeah.
We've got Alien Resurrection. We've got a whole number of aliens that maybe aren't as strong as the first or the second.
Resurrection and Covenant are all pretty bad.
Well, I don't love it whenever they fight the Predator either, but hey, what are you going to do?
That's true. I don't even count that as an Alien movie. That's
I don't either.
It's in the title.
AVPR, I'll say it right here, is one of the worst movies ever made. Bar none.
Resurrection.
AVPR, the second one. No, AVP. Alien vs. Predator Requiem, I think. AVPR.
I forgot they did a sequel.
I almost walked out of the theater. We saw that when it's a long time ago now. It was so bad.
Is Resurrection the one where the alien gets sucked out of a tiny hole in a window?
At the end?
Yeah.
That does sound familiar.
Where there's
Alien Resurrection is the one with the hybrid alien human.
That movie is really bad.
Yeah.
God.
Anyway, we're on the Alien, but Alien Isolation 2 is coming. Cool announcement on the 10-year anniversary of Isolation.
It is a cool announcement, and I agree with Travis that it can certainly be improved, because everything, no matter how perfect it otherwise is, like Alien Isolation, can be improved. So I'm all for improvement, but it's improving on greatness.
Isolation has a lot of room to improve.
I don't know if I said this on Cast Co-op or I said it last week on Bitcast when you weren't here, Hogue, but I really want to see Condemned come back in some form. I've said it many times.
So do you know about where Condemned is? So that company
at the end of 2, you mean? Or
the company
Monolith
went out of business, and some random guy owns the rights to Condemned.
You did, yes, yes.
Some one dude, and he tweets about it sometimes, like, "Hey, what should I do with this property?" And I'm like, "What? You could just do that? You could just be a dude who owns the rights to Condemned? This is crazy."
Yes. As we talked about, the freedom of contract is a thing.
I know.
In many states.
I think he just acquired it from some like yard sale when that company went under, but it's just a very weird person.
I need to go back and play it.
I'd like to play No One Lives Forever again, but that intellectual property is separated over like 4 different companies, 2 of which are bankrupt, and nobody has any idea whether they can make that.
Yeah.
There probably should be an intellectual property clearinghouse, like we have real property clearinghouses. Like we probably need that to be a function of the law. I'm not in charge.
Nah, dude.
Call your congressperson.
Make it a contract position. Do it all through contractors.
I don't know. I just want to see Condemned back.
The ownership rights. But I love No One Lives Forever.
Healthcare for no one. That's what I have. That's my motto.
Stop circling back. We're moving on. So let's see. Silent Hill 2.
Yes.
Now, Hogue, I gave you crap before for shitting on Bloober. And
yes, and deservedly so. Here's the thing. I have not enjoyed Bloober games before Silent Hill 2. I really like this remake. I will say I think there are aspects of the remake, even though I like it, that are kind of indicative of a video game developer that doesn't make all the choices that I would make when they're making these games. I think Silent Hill 2 is a really immaculately made, beautiful looking experience that is unfortunately expanded to justify its existence in a way that I think actually hurts the plot progression and storytelling within Silent Hill 2. Like, the reason you remake Silent Hill 2 is because it's widely considered to be one of the stronger stories in gaming. Especially, you don't start with 1, you start with 2 because the story,
especially horror games, like it's a classic.
Yeah, but what they've done with this is that they've taken the town, they've taken the various locations that you go to, and they've broadened them out so far that almost any given level, like the apartment building or the south of town or wherever you might find yourself, is as long as seemingly the original game. Like the original Silent Hill 2 is like an 8 or 9 hour game maybe, and you can easily play one of these now levels, which isn't really how Silent Hill 2 is organized, but it kind of is, in 6 or 7 or 8 hour increments, and it's a little off-putting for the pacing of the game. But what they've actually built here with the graphics and the combat, I really, really like. So
at least they didn't turn it into 3 separate video games. Hogue. At least they didn't do Silent Hill 2 remake, rebirth.
Right, and in this scenario, it would be like one game is the apartment complex, which is like the rebirth of it all. And so, yeah, I do think Bloober got a little bit of a hard time because the medium, and I don't love like their Blair Witch game and some of the other things that I knew that I had a negative feeling towards this particular developer about. Silent Hill 2 is by far their strongest effort. And some of that is because they have such a strong pillar to build off of. But what I really like about Silent Hill 2 is that it puts you in the location in a very physical way, right? Like we don't play a lot of games now where you pull out the map and it's actually a map, and then you go and you have to try to open all the different doors to figure out exactly how you're going to progress. And so I really think that it's an enjoyable experience. I wonder if it's not going to run too long, especially since Silent Hill famously has multiple endings. But I'm about halfway through at this point, and I really like it. I highly recommend it. And it's a different kind of horror experience. It really does feel a bit like a throwback. And if you remember kind of the history of it as being a counterpoint to Resident Evil, it carries some of that DNA, but in the different kind of Japanese psychological horror way. So I really like Silent Hill 2. I always have. I like Silent Hill 2 less as an original project than some people on the internet do. I preferred Silent Hill 1. I liked kind of the introduction to the area of the town and what was happening psychologically a little bit more than the story in 2. But I know a lot of people really love the story in 2, and I think that's mostly been preserved coming over in this. So as these things go, this is way more interesting of a remake to me than something like a remaster of Horizon or something like that. Obviously, Silent Hill is an older property, but that's where I want to see games remade.
I want to see Bloober remake The Last of Us. I think it's been too long since we got a version of that game. Let's give it to Bloober, see what they can do.
I think Silent Hill 2 is close. I mean, it's got a lot of Last of Us kind of vibes in the way that they've built it.
Did you play Layers of Fear?
I did not play Layers of Fear.
So Layers of Fear 1 was good. It had some technical issues, which kind of dampened the experience at the time. Layers of Fear 2 was really cool. If you didn't know, and no anyone watching this doesn't know, Bloober last year, with the updated engine, they went back, they just renamed it Layers of Fear. They did a remake, which basically merged Layers of Fear 1 and 2 together with additional content, and they made it one big experience. So now if you buy the 2023 version of Layers of Fear, it's actually 1, 2, and additional content all together in a new engine. So highly recommend that.
But cool.
It is terrible marketing. That's why I'm explaining it. But it's there's some really cool ideas in those games, and they are very creepy. So if you're in that mindset for the next few weeks of horror, and you're not completely consumed by Vessel of Hatred, Metaphor, etc., check out Layers of Fear, and you can probably get it for a deal nowadays. It's been out a year or so. So
I should say I've been playing Vessel of Hatred as part of the horror push with my games.
Cool.
Obviously, when you're just mowing down demons, it's not the same kind of feeling as survival horror, but there's certainly a lot of bad stuff happening in Sanctuary that gives you that feeling.
Yeah, someone said Stingray said Prey is amazing as well. I absolutely echo. Prey is incredible. I don't really categorize that as terrible. Yeah, I don't categorize that as horror, but you know,
well, it's super stressful. And certainly there are places that you can go into and get frightened by things.
It's horror themed, maybe. Yeah.
Spider shadows jump out of objects in the room. Seems pretty horrifying to me.
Speaking of Vessel of Hatred again, if I have to kill another spider, man, do we have a lot of spiders in the new expansion.
You know what else has a lot of spiders?
Not Dragon Age.
The real world. The real world has a lot of spiders, and I'm constantly killing them.
Well, one of the things we talked about in our reviews too, Hogue, was the added enemy variety was definitely lackluster. I was hoping for more new enemy types.
I like the sludge monsters. I do. There's the one that's the sprinkler. Like, you never expect to be attacked by a demon sprinkler. Like, you're just not expecting that. You're like,
he's called a frother.
He is. Yes.
Do
Yeah,
you guys
and
think we get XP in real life for killing spiders? And if so, how
Travis,
much?
you've completely left the show, so I'm just gonna mute you from here on out.
I
Travis
think
is
that's
off his
fair.
meds. It's fine.
I think that's fair.
But yeah, I you've got me now. I either am gonna buy Layers of Fear today, the remake, because I've been meaning to do that and I just haven't, the collection, or I'm gonna install Condemned, or maybe both. I don't know. We'll see. But you've got me in the
I don't
horror
even
mood
think
now.
you have to install Condemned. Those are
do you mean?
OG games. Like you can just play them off a disc. Like that's the mark of that era is you can
It's
play
a
them straight off
360
the
launch game. Yeah, I have the disc.
Yeah.
I mean, I have
You
it.
don't even have to install it. Like that's you know what I mean? Like
Oh,
games
seriously,
today,
you can play it off the disk drive? Really?
Yeah, you can play
Wow.
off the disk drive. So
Okay, cool. Shoes mentioned Fear, by the way, a Fear remake. Fear coming back. That would be cool. Those were cool games. So
right, you can't play Condemned 2 back compat. I forgot about that.
There's a game I was just recently playing.
I did not
reminds
know
me of
that.
Fear. It's
Yeah.
Ghostwire Tokyo gives me those Fear vibes. They have
I
those
like
kinds of
Ghostwire.
abandoned areas.
Yeah, I like that game. I didn't know Condemned 2 you couldn't play. That's crazy.
Yeah. But I had like for a while because I had all those 360 discs and I was trying to like figure out which ones I owned that I could play on my current console. I mean, I still have my 360 in a pinch, but like, yeah, there's some series like that where it's like, oh, you have to either play it on the 360 or if it's back compat from like the original Xbox, but only on the 360. There's a few games that are like that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Shush also called out The Suffering. Yeah, another
Good
one. There's
game.
a lot of horror games out
I
there.
played that game when I was too young. My God.
What was the famous one, Eternal Darkness in GameCube?
Silicon Knights, Eternal Darkness.
Eternal Darkness. Yeah. Okay. Yep. All right. Well, in addition to, we'll get to our closing here. In addition to what we're already talked about this week, because October is a crazy month. We have Neva coming out on Tuesday, which is the follow-up from the team that did, is it Greece? I never know. Dan reviewed it years ago, but
I believe it's Greece.
Greece. Yeah, I think it's pronounced Greece, right? But it looks like Gris, right?
Yes, I believe
Grease
Greece is the
Lightning what
word.
it's called.
The follow-up from that team, we'll actually have a review on that tomorrow. Lewis is doing the review for us, so you can take a look at that. New World Eternum comes out, so that is the Amazon studio that was the game that was on PC only. So this is the expansion update, but it's also coming to PS5 and Series XS on Tuesday as well.
Yeah, it's
we
like
get
a
the
revamp, though, right? Like it was an
Yes.
MMO, and now it's like an action RPG on the consoles or something like that.
It's both.
It's kind of both. Yeah, it was very action RPG-ish MMO to begin with. So it's kind of like, they're making updates to the game, and this is like it's 2.0, if you will, and coming to consoles.
No, I'm definitely going to check that one out.
Be careful of that one. You can lose hundreds of hours very easily. It's an extremely fun game.
Yeah, Steve did that one for us. He really liked it at the time. So I'm curious. We got the new Super Mario Party this week, Jamboree, on Thursday, I believe that one launches. And then
maybe I'll go to a rooftop party with that one. We'll see.
We get Unknown 9 Awakening on Friday. Travis, I don't know if you can say anything still, or is the embargo maybe this week?
I can say that I have beaten the game and the embargo is this week. I can pull up the exact embargo if you want. I'm writing the review today.
So you'll see the review for that this week. We can talk about that next week. That's the one that has the actress who plays Yennefer in the Witcher Netflix series, who's
I love
in
that
the
to
game.
be the call out for that game.
I read it. Okay, that makes sense.
Well, I'm entirely in favor of new IPs and things. I've seen videos of that game, but it doesn't seem to have the strongest understanding of how to sell a video game. So I want to see if they had a better understanding of how to make it.
Be clear, this studio is brand new. This is their first game. I met them around GDC and previewed the game, and so you can read my early thoughts about that game already, and then my review will be live on where's the embargo? Come on, isn't the reviewer's guide down here? October 17 at
Wednesday.
7 a.m. Pacific.
That's Thursday.
Thursday at 7 a.m. and then the game comes out, I think, the day after.
Yeah, it comes out on Friday. I want to be extremely clear. I've not talked to Travis about this game, so I don't have any idea what he's rated it or reviewed
Neither
it.
do I.
but
I also haven't
it-
rated or reviewed it yet.
it
So.
feels like a 6 or 7 incoming. It feels like one of those kind of Focus Interactive AA games. And I wish a new studio the best, of course. But to Hoag's point, I don't think there's a lot of awareness of this game out there right now.
If they could nail a 7 kind of hidden gem, I love this experience, but nobody has any idea how to play it, and it's kind of clunky. I would love that. Would love that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I have no idea whether they can achieve that or not.
And then I also want to mention the last announcement we got this week. Well, Poker Face, which is just a random out of the blue announcement, is that Red Dead Redemption, not 2, the first one, is finally coming to PC on October 29th, only 14 years after the game release. So PC players, you'll finally get your day in the South and Mexico and Red Dead.
Should have made it
like-
15 for playing on PC.
Looks like Grand Theft Auto needs a little bit more in the budget.
The crazy thing is, there was rumors last year, I think, starting that they were remaking Red Dead 1 in the Red Dead 2 engine, which I was hyped about because I thought that would be great.
That.
Yes, I know. Do that, please. But instead, we get Red Dead 1 on PC, and it's literally pretty much just the Red Dead you can play on Series X.
Yeah, what's funny is the Series X backwards compatibility on so many games is like the hidden secret that people don't realize. Red Dead 1 is fantastic on the Xbox. The Final Fantasy 13 series is as best as it's ever looked on the Xbox. And like people don't fully understand that, I don't think, at this point.
Or appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, on the season gaming side, we have the review of Neva. Like I said, tomorrow I have videos up on Vessel of Hatred. I have my Jaguar build video up. Jaguar.
Okay, I have to talk to you about this.
Jaguar.
No, we're not British, Travis. We're not going to say it like the car company.
I say
it's
it the way I want
Jaguar.
to say it, and you can shut the up if you have a problem with that.
It's like it's Jag, and then like the band with the alien monsters.
Jaguar.
I think Hoag, that is a very interesting opinion you have, and you can
it's the way you pronounce the word. I can't listen to Jaguar.
You can take it and you can carry it around in your nut bag. Okay, you freaking weirdo. All right,
Jaguar. Just work with me here.
Jaguar. David Attenborough taught me.
Jaguar.
Yes, I know the expensive car commercials. I understand that is a ridiculous way to pronounce it. Do you say aluminium?
I mean,
my family does. Yes.
If you read the word, aluminum is a crazy way to say it. I mean, read the word.
The other one that always gets me is vitamins. Have you taken your vitamins?
Okay, vitamins. That I don't understand that one. But
now I kind of want somebody to super chat just random words that have weird pronunciations for Travis to have to read to us. But I also don't want that. So here we are. Jaguar.
Pronunciations are fine.
Jaguar. Got it.
Jaguar. Got it.
Jaguar.
So we got three pronunciations for one word. What else would you expect out of Bitcast? Come on.
The majestic Jaguar.
That's like the sloth. You can't. What are you doing?
The sloth I can't get on board with, Travis. I can't.
I say sloth for the animal and sloth for the vice.
How often are you talking about the animal, Travis? I'm curious.
How often am I talking about the vice?
I mean, I figure a lot.
I feel like the animal comes up more often, to be honest.
By the way, Vintage Willow with the super chat. Travis, you need to read this one, of course.
Sloth. For $10, Vintage Willow writes sloth. I do pronounce it sloth.
I don't believe she did write that.
She writes sloth. Yeah.
She wrote sloth.
She's giving you money to pronounce it correctly, Travis.
Yeah.
First of all, words have different pronunciations. None of them are wrong, except for the ones that are actually wrong.
Even your factory manager calls you out here.
How's that?
It doesn't have an A in it. It doesn't have an A in it.
He writes slouth. Rob probably the second writes slouth, which I don't know. I don't know.
He kind of wrote sloth. It's like a
that's slouth. That's clearly slouth.
That's sloth. Sloth.
Yeah, I think that's sloth.
Sloath is not slouth.
Oh, sloth. Like cloak. You wouldn't say clouk. It's cloak.
You would say I hate when people make these arguments. There's so many words that OA is pronounced.
Anyway, my Jaguar build video is up, and I'm doing a full 100% gorilla right now, which I wasn't feeling at first, but it's really come into its own and it's wrecking everything. So I may do a vid on that as well. We'll see. Travis,
my centipede build. Well, I call it a centipede build, but I actually use Jaguar and gorilla.
Eagle.
Spirits. Okay,
Eagle's the meta, though. You can't call out the meta builds.
Eagle is the meta, but I doubt Hogan's playing it that way.
I mean,
Hogan's just a late game meta. He's on YouTube looking up the top builds.
He's not playing it that way, but
come on.
Our friend Kevin Babbage, Ains, the guy who is knows more about Diablo than everyone, he's on the Eagle build.
Do you know why I picked
everyone is.
Stupid, Because I love Scrubs and JD yells Eagle. That's why I picked Eagle.
We're so off the rails.
Okay. All right, we should have a show. I'm going to say something I regret.
Try
Let's get out of here.
Hold on. First of all, I forgot to thank Vintage Willow for the $10 super chat. Thank you, Willow. Travis, what do you got coming this week?
I've got a review of Unknown 9 Awakening.
All right.
I've got a preview. I can't talk about that. That's all I've got. And then I reviewed a game last week, I think. Oh, right. Diablo 4. Who talked about that one?
Jesus Christ.
My life is a little chaotic right now.
Married life, folks.
Married life is easy. So here's my married life.
Nobody ever.
Yesterday, my wife, Deanna, she took a nap that lasted 6.5 hours. She did, just to be clear, it wasn't like she was sleep deprived and she was just sleeping during the day. She had a full night of sleep. She actually woke up late at like 11:30, and then at 4 she took a nap that went until 10:30 in the PM, and then she went to bed at the normal time. She was like, all right, it's 1:30, you got a show tomorrow, we'll get 6 hours of sleep. She's still sleeping.
Sometimes you got to rest.
So
honestly, she lives with you.
I just hang
Is
out.
she anemic?
It's basically like being married to a coma patient. Like she's just not around. She's nearby, but not really in my life. So
by the way,
it is amazing the lengths that women will go to not spend time with me.
I was going to say, I have a better understanding of your marriage now, Travis.
It is truly a thing of
speaking of which, Tide says,
Porsche Power, can you give Tie Guy Travis a Gibbs slap for all of the Jaguars and Sloths around the world? Cause GRR.
I shouldn't have had you read that because you just pronounced it wrong again.
He's saying because of gross revenue retention is my guess. Thank you, Shush. Or thank you again. Sorry.
Yeah.
She is talking about gross revenue retention there at the end. GRR.
You know what has happened to this show?
Bloat goat.
All right.
Good. I like that. That was good.
Hogue, what you got, my friend?
Yeah, well, I recently made a video on the articles regarding the death of Star Wars or not death of Star Wars that you can check out on my channel. Almost invited Travis, but realized I didn't want to hear his opinion. And so that's a Hangouts and Headlines that I think people will enjoy in general. If you want to come to the channel, I've been trying to do, as we've talked about, more videos more regularly on the channel. And I'm excited about all the games I get to play. Unfortunately, my Detroit Tigers were eliminated from the Major League Baseball playoffs yesterday by the Cleveland Guardians, and they will no longer play.
Good.
But
Hold on. Cleveland Guardians? What's a Guardian?
Yes, I know, right? What is a Guardian?
He didn't even know this team existed.
No. I mean, I know what the team was. I didn't know they had changed. So I don't follow baseball.
They changed the name 3 years ago, and I think they picked Guardians largely because they could keep the font in basic INAS.
I think they chose it because they're really into Destiny.
Yes, they're really into Destiny.
Yeah, really into Destiny.
I didn't realize the team had changed, and the
Royals they start off every game before first pitch with "Eyes Up, Guardians," and then
Eyes Up, Guardians, and then their mascot is a hunter who throws knives around.
But yes,
Royals
they
got
lost
knocked out as well. So,
but I'm looking to do some new videos this week, hopefully, and keep that streak alive of occasional content for all my wonderful supporters on the channel.
Very good. Be careful. Don't get too nutbag over it. We are
You're using that wrongly, but hey,
it has been, if nothing else, a fun show. Chat, you've been awesome as always. Thanks for hanging out with us. We have a tremendous amount of excellent games to go play. So I hope you do that this week. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Those of you hanging out with us, for all of those listening later in the week, enjoy your games. We will be back next Sunday as always. Enjoy your time, and we'll see you then. Peace.
Skull and Bones.